Greetings.
No.
Yeah, that's a throwback to my first 2 streams I ever did when I had Ash Maiz on. No relation.
Of
To
course.
discuss Judaism and his take on it. And
Yes.
so, yeah, we thought we'd intro with that today on this glorious chill stream, which I've never done before.
You do have a new member.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining. Yes, this is a chill stream. We will be chilling. We will discussing things. We will try not to get the stream struck for community guidelines. So there's that.
I have never said anything objectionable ever on any stream for any reason.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. The first question is it a goat or a sheep pageant? It is in fact a sheep pageant. I was wrong on the original stream.
You know, in Acts when it says that Apollos used to like debate vigorously with the people from scripture, I don't think that's what they were talking about. The Goyim stream. Yeah, this is my Goyim stream. I got 2 Goyims on with me.
I'm just Semitically challenged.
Hey,
Excuse
bro.
you, sir.
Just like Paul said, bro. Hey, I become all things to all men. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shalom, y'all. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what's funny is I've heard people quote that to say like, look, Paul is admitting that he's like a deceiver, and it's like he's talking about being respectful of the traditions everywhere he goes, so that he doesn't offend anyone and turn them away from Christ. That's what he's talking about. In case somebody didn't get that.
Goyim proud. There was one person, whenever I posted my Semitically challenged video, one person in the comment section was like, what if you're a Jew, but you only go to like Chavez like, once a month for the synagogue, and then like Shabbat.
Shabbos. Shabbos. Okay.
Shabbos, sorry. You only go there like once a month, and you might do Yom Kippur like every other year or so. Like, what do you call yourself at that point? And I was like, what about if you're a Joyim?
Joyim. Yeah, it's funny, like the way that like unaffiliated Jews are connected to Judaism is different than the way that like cultural unaffiliated Christians are connected to Christianity. Because yes, it's just like there's Reform Jews who don't believe that the Torah is from God, may not believe in God at all, but they super believe that they are still the chosen people. It's like, by what standard do you get that now?
They're chosen by the universe, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
What's funny is that's actually like ties into Kabbalistic ideas that I guess found their way into Reform Judaism, like the idea that you're like Tikkun Olam is like on the Jewish people, like as responsibility to repair the world, right? So like Tikkun Olam is a big thing in the Reform Jewish world, except for them it's like it now means social justice. Like that's what no, I'm not like that's like on Reform like whatever of Reform Association of the United States, like right on their website there.
Yeah. You have a super chat saying that you win the Battle of the Beards.
I always win the Battle of the Beards.
I wasn't trying.
Yeah, I know you'd be very attractive to a certain group of people. How little of a beard you got? You gotta get the sides up, man.
Oh, I thought you were talking
the only
to Ash.
time.
I was like,
no.
The only time I would lose the Battle of the Beards is if we had like some monastics from like the Orthodox Church on. Like I kind of like I basically lost the Battle of the Beards with Abuna Lazarus, because even though my beard's like a bigger beard, he also has the cool priest hat, and like he's holding a cross the entire time and like pointing with it, so he gets extra points for that.
Yeah, I can't get past the itchiness that you get whenever it touches a new spot of skin. It drives me absolutely insane, so I don't think I could ever actually grow out a full beard.
Gotta let it go, man.
You do have to let it go. See, I kind of had to accept the fact that at some point it was just going to be ugly for a while. When I was 19, I had a seizure, and fast forward a year, I had surgery on my brain. Because of that, I was out of commission for a while, and I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to shave. I was like, nobody's going to care, nobody's going to see me, and so I didn't shave, and it was pretty ugly for a little while, but it got better. It got better. So it doesn't end poorly. I think it ends better.
I tried to grow my peyote once. Pious to those that know it in that accent, like the side locks, like the one I tried to grow them. Somebody's in the chat if you want to star that for later. I can't star comments, right? No.
Which one?
Let me. How do I do that? Oh no, I can join the chat, but I can't, just to be able to comment. But yeah, I tried to grow my payas, and it was so awkward looking. About 2 months in, I just gave up. And Chabad doesn't really grow payas like that anyway, so it wasn't like, it wasn't an issue.
Right. Goya asked, do a video or do a stream with Dawood David Soquera about science and God. I am going to do that. I'm currently putting together all of the so basically, like, there's like, I don't know, a couple hundred papers I've read in chemistry and microbiology. So I'm just trying to find all of the animations that I thought were the most awesome. And I'm manually editing together a compilation video that we can react to. Because there's not going to be one video that's going to cover all the topics I want to talk about. So me and him are going to nerd out for a couple hours on proteins and DNA and RNA and whatnot. Abiogenesis. I have a very long script already. I don't think we're going to get to it all, but we'll see how it goes.
This critic of mine in the chat says Ash grew his payos, tied them together over his bald head. You say that mockingly, and I know that you're mocking me. But what's actually funny is there's a few families where I grew up who are Chabad, but they're like, were part of this like sort of pseudo Chabad group that followed also one of the Rebbe's brothers of one of the Rebbe's. I forget which one, but they did grow their payos really long, and they would actually tie their payos under their kippas and under their hats. And so this guy thinks, oh, he's not mocking, he's serious. No, okay, well there you go. Well, yeah, there's a family that literally did tie their payos over their head. They were totally shaved heads, except for the payos. Tied it over their heads, and then put their hats on top. Are you one of that family? Is that why you're saying it? I'm so confused now.
Anyways, yeah. I don't understand the bald head.
I'm only somewhat bald. I'm not actually bald.
You have pretty much the exact same hairline as I do.
It looks like Prince Vegeta over there, bro.
No.
Yeah. No, I shaved my head once in high school, and my ex-girlfriend at the time was super offended by it, and she told me never to do it again, and then just stuck in my head forever. That's been 13 years. 14
I'm trying to figure out who this person could be. Send me an email if you think that I know who you are, and you don't want to say it in the chat. Send me an email.
Yes.
Can I do some housekeeping announcements?
Go for it.
So, as always, in the description of my channel, there's my Buy Me a Coffee if you want to support my work. It is getting a little more tedious than I had originally thought it was going to be. So that would be appreciated for anyone that does want. There's also the shop.ashmaiz.com where you can buy the True Israel shirt with the rabbis on one side, all the rabbis who are actually goys, and then all the apostles who were Jews on the other side. That's pretty fun. And then there's also our Amazon baby registry. And my wife wants a Duna, so I have to put the registry on. So please check those out. Anything that you can support would be awesome.
Yes. We also have a super chat question.
Ash, serious question. Coming from Judaism to becoming Catholic, mate, has it been difficult? Has it been difficult with family, or has it been okay? It depends what you mean by that. So my family doesn't give me any trouble. People give my family trouble. I don't know exactly who it was because he didn't tell me, but my dad was telling me that somebody was calling my sisters and asking them about my channel, and I don't talk to my sisters about my channel, and they don't have anything to do with it. Ash, will you have a brit? I had a brit when I was 8 days old. What are you talking about? So yeah, it's difficult in that I've had people who I grew up around calling me and telling me they want to kill me, I've also had people I grew up around telling me that those people are nuts and just ignore them. Generally speaking, most of what I've been dealing with is slander, but mostly from people that don't actually know me, just making stuff up to harass me and kind of delegitimize what I'm doing. Less difficult with family itself.
I think he's asking if your son was going to be circumcised specifically.
Oh, well, I have my son is actually a daughter, so there's going to be no
that's
circumcision.
true.
We're not from that religious leaning.
Disgusting.
My two sons were circumcised by mohels, by rabbis.
Yeah.
We were still somewhat connected to our Judaism when my current youngest, my son, was born.
That is an interesting question. So would you now, if you were having another son, would you have gotten him circumcised, or would you not have at this point in your walk?
It's a good question. I don't think I know at this point. I assume I would, just for like cultural hygiene, whatever reasons. Not
circumcised my
related
son.
to. I know that the Catholic Church allows for it as long as it's not done for any kind of religious reasoning.
Right. Yeah, I circumcised my son strictly because I have seen the horrors of what can happen if you don't clean an uncircumcised one, and I didn't want him to ever have to deal
Where
with
have
that.
you
And
seen
there's,
that?
like,
Where would you?
you ask questions you don't want to know about. That's the thing with these streams. You
I
don't
was
wanna
listening.
know.
I was listening before I came on, and it was not anything like that before I came on. I swear I came in and everything just got weird as soon as I came in here. Anyways, continue,
It just
Chris, please.
happens. It just happens. Anyway, you're on the internet long enough, you see some stuff. Anyway, I did not want him to have to deal with that, so that's why I got him circumcised. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I completely reject any notion that circumcision should be done for any reasons connected to the Old Testament law of Moses. I know that there are certain communities that do it, again, for cultural reasons connected to that. So both Messianic Jews and Ethiopian Orthodox will both do that. So anyone who tells you that people doing that are Judaizers, I don't think the Ethiopian Orthodox Church are Judaizers in any capacity. So no. Oh, hey, Eric, Catholic Christian. What's up? Thank you for coming in.
So for the coming of the long-awaited Jewish Messiah and the coming of the second coming of Christ, probably
is the coming of the long-awaited Jewish Mashiach and the second coming of Christ. So
the reason
Christ is the long-awaited Jewish Messiah who came, fulfilled the portions of prophecy related to the suffering servant who then resurrected and ascended, and he is going to come back again. It's the same Messiah.
Yeah.
We
And then
bringing
Paul
out
says-
the circumcisers, bro.
Yeah, Chase, your audio is coming through your webcam, not your mic.
Yeah,
Um,
I noticed it when I was listening, but I didn't want to. I was going to tell you.
Yeah, I was wondering why his mic was so bad. Anyway,
Yeah.
You do have Paul saying that all of the Jews will come under the fold of Christ
Oh, that-
before the end. So you could say
Better.
that that's better. You could say that they're kind of the same thing because they rejected him the first time, they'll accept him the second time, kind of like Joseph with his brothers. Little neat typology thing there. But we have FBI check Chris's internet history.
So he said Jesus was circumcised. Yeah, Jesus perfectly fulfilled everything of the law. That's part of the point.
Indeed.
The only one who did.
Dude.
You're the one who
I
could.
don't just do like doom browsing. I go down doom browse like rabbit hole and spirals for like hours on end, just seeing stuff, man, and just learn about things.
See, Chris's they're not rabbit holes, they're rabbi holes that he goes down with the Jewish Talmud.
Not like the Zut. Yeah.
Not in the
Yeah,
Zut sense.
no,
Not in the Zut sense.
there's always one. There's
That was
one per
not,
stream.
that was not a great way to word that.
That was
No.
that'll get added to the
That'll
Chase
get clipped.
compilation. Yeah, that's
Dang it.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Chase
many
compilation.
The
for
ever growing
Roger.
compilation.
dude. There may not be enough tiles on the roof for me to get circumcised.
I said there's a super chat there. Ash followed your year ago. Can you bring that one up? Ash, while you're going, enjoying watching your journey. Congratulations on the baby. Side note, Muslims are on TikTok using Rashi against the Bible. Using Rashi against the Bible is like
The dumbest thing, man.
it's like going to a how do I put this? Imagine going to somebody from like mainstream political affiliation in some country and then telling them, I don't know if this is a good analogy. Rashi only applies to people that subscribe to ideas about rabbis having authority to say the kinds of things that they say and do the kinds of things that they do. So a Christian obviously doesn't care what Rashi says. It doesn't prove anything about the Bible. In fact, they'd say that Rashi distorts the Bible significantly, especially messianic passages. But even if you said like not everyone agrees to everything that every rabbi says. So imagine going to like somebody who's like a Republican and saying like, we think America is bad because of this and this thing. And then they cite a policy put in place by Democrats. It's like, yeah, I agree with you. That's bad for that thing, that reason. Like they would agree that that's a bad thing. Like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Remember, Rashi thought
incredible.
the snake was literally just a snake and wanted to have intercourse with Eve. Not the snake is an analogy for some other thing.
No.
And the reason being he wanted to deceive them to have intercourse with Eve. That's the reason for the serpent.
I've noticed a lot of voyeurism within the Midrash. Because it's not just the Adam and Eve story. Because like the reason why he wants Eve is because he was watching them get it on in the garden. He's like, hey, well, that looks fun. And then he wanted to participate in it. And then he ended up getting Lilith as his bride instead of Eve in the process. But why it's interesting, like rabbinic Judaism is hyper fixated on sex in a way that feels awfully familiar to some other religion that we're not going to talk about today. I don't get it. I don't get why there's such a focus on that specific topic versus all the other topics, or like spiritualism or the Bible, or it's weird.
So, by the way, people in the chat, the stream is running to my channel and theirs, but I don't have control of the chat to bring up comments. So I can see what you're writing that's tagging me, but I'm not in control of the chat. I want to say here for Jewish Responsa, this is not a call-in stream. Maybe later on, but likely not. This is more just hanging out and talking about stuff. So not this time. I also saw I got your email, so we'll talk about that. Somebody else said. Somebody said they were in a homeless shelter looking at ways to move out, and a friend said they should take a loan from a local Jewish charity, and they said that I can get it even if I guess the follow-up to that was not Jewish. Yeah, there are a lot of Jewish institutions that do help non-Jews as well. So yeah, there's just like Catholic institutions help people that are not Catholic and all kinds of stuff. Generally, charities are pretty good with helping people. That's what they're for.
I saw someone.
As far as
sorry.
The unanswered questions, if you can feel free to ask your question a handful of times. Definitely don't spam the chat with it. But
yeah, that's the one bannable rule in my.
Yeah.
You can insult me, you can call me names, you can blaspheme to a degree. Just don't spam the chat and ruin it for everyone.
Right.
I'm gonna take 1 second because somebody put Kabbalah and it brought to my mind something from my studying of Masonry. I need to go get my notebook.
Stonemasonry or Freemasonry?
Freemasonry. Something. I need to go grab my notebook. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Question for Ash: do you still hold to the idea that Jimmy Akin is correct about? I don't know if I've ever mentioned Jimmy Akin ever on my channel. That he's correct about the Old Testament and the Trinity. I don't know what Jimmy Akin said about the Old Testament and the Trinity. So if you could refresh.
Yeah. Do you think there's any connection between the Golgana and Shohabar?
I know what the Shohabar is. I have no idea what the Gugalana is.
It's the dance, like, or maybe that's the Cucaracha. Never mind.
Cucaracha.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate between soul and spirit? There's a number of modern day philosophers that think that basically the spirit is a subsection of the soul, and they have more like a dualism sense of our being. I lean more towards that we are like small tripartite beings, like we have a body, soul, and a spirit. The three distinct. The soul is immaterial; it doesn't occupy either the physical or the spiritual realm. The spirit occupies the spiritual realm, and the physical occupies the physical realm. And we are able to interact in the spiritual realm through our spirit, along with the Holy Spirit helping us in that process. And then our physical is interacting with the physical. And sometimes those are blended and blurred. But I would say that the spirit is not necessarily like a force or an energy, but like just a different aspect of your being in a different dimension. And then your soul is your mind, your will, the authority of your being.
Chat be like, is George Costanza right about the Old Testament? Somebody asked, so Jimmy Aiken apparently does not agree. Oh, I might have said in one of Eric's chats apparently. Yeah, so the Old Testament prophets very clearly understood God in a different way than modern Judaism does. They did understand obviously a multi-personal element to God's nature, but that doesn't mean they knew who the persons of the Trinity were, and they didn't know it was a Trinity. There's a famous, there's an Orthodox hymn that basically says that your baptism in the Jordan, O Lord, the worship of the Trinity was made manifest. That's the first time Trinity, as the Father, Son, and Spirit, is fully clear. Right before that, they would have known maybe two powers in heaven, that there's this multi-personal aspect, that the Spirit is a person. They didn't know necessarily that it's three specifically. They didn't necessarily know how those persons interact with one another, why that's the way that it is. So I would say that there's not a chance that the Old Testament prophets were literally Trinitarian, with the exception of maybe Moses. Just because of how things at Sinai and so on were manifest.
Right. And you have, Genesis 19. Like you have a lot of passages that they were like, how do we deal with this without it being multi-personal? But even especially Sinai, where God is literally putting him in the rock, and it says Yahweh's hand is over him, then Yahweh walks across him, and it's like, well, that seems like there's multiple Yahwehs there. What's happening? And the Trinity explains it.
Man, Chris, you were so right about the LSB, bro.
It's a good translation.
Fantastic translation. I got it in yesterday, and I was reading during meeting today. It's to me, translating Yahweh's name as Lord in the Old Testament is fine, but it is his name, so it's a name, and that's, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Oh, it's not Yahweh, it's Jehovah.
No.
Or
he says, I'm giving away the farm here by saying that Moses, that they must. No, they knew the God of Israel, and they're not following other gods other than the God of Israel. It doesn't mean that everyone understand the exact mechanisms of God's nature and how he works. Not everyone was the people in the Old Testament weren't all theologians. That means they followed a different God than Moses. What a stupid thing to say. What a stupid argument. Well, do you guys think before you write what you're writing in the chat? Do you think for a second what the natural conclusion of that? So a Jew today who has an IQ under 80 and doesn't understand anything about theology is following a different God than the God of the Jewish people because he doesn't understand what God is? What a ridiculous argument.
Would you like to hear some other really dumb things from my notebook that I documented? So this... I'm going to assume this is the blending of Hermeticism and Kabbalistic teachings. So there was the belief that Moses, he was an initiate of Egyptian wisdom. He founded the Tabernacle Mystery School. It was founded on Egyptian mysticism, and it's stated as a fact in the book. They're like, yeah, we all know this. Moses knew Egyptian mysticism. And they claim that, he didn't ever actually write down any of the teachings that he gave to these select initiates of his school. It was just transferred orally. And then eventually, though, the keys to the sacred writings of Moses and his mystical Egyptian school were in Kabbalah. So if you didn't know that, apparently that is Hussar, close your ears. Apparently that is Freemason thought. By
You muted yourself.
Robert Lund is the author of the book. It's the esoteric handbook for the first degree of Masons, and he was a master Mason for a lodge in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. But
A couple of prominent Freemasons in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And yes, Freemasonry is incredibly silly.
Yeah, he was Egyptian, but it doesn't mean he was practicing mysticism.
Yeah, neither was Joseph. Did Yahweh kill the Egyptian gods during the plague? I would argue
There are
the
no
Egyptian
Egyptian
gods
gods.
are not real, or if they are real, they're just principalities, and he didn't have to kill them because they didn't have authority over him. Every single plague is demonstrating that he has the power over a specific Egyptian deity, because every single plague is targeting the powers and authority of an Egyptian deity. Like the first plague is targeting Hapi and Sobek, the gods of the Nile. So the protector god of the Nile and the god of fertility of the Nile, who is a hermaphrodite blue person, who has a goatee, a ding dong, and breasts. So it's targeting very specific gods for all of those things. And he's just kind of dunking on it. He's trying to destroy the paganism of the Jews and showing that all of the gods that they're currently worshiping, because all the gods that he targets in those plagues are the high deities. He doesn't target any of the like low-hanging fruit. It's all high deities. He starts out with the Nile, which is kind of crazy. Then it goes up all the way to Ra and Pharaoh with the 9th and 10th plague. So he's trying to destroy their polytheism so that they're not doing that in the promised land.
And Jesus came and did that in a superior fashion where he turned all the pagans and their idols directly to worship of the God of Israel without shedding
using
any blood in that time at least.
Super based, man.
Not for the first like 400 years.
What are good sources on the Judaism separated from a multi-personal God?
I don't read any like contemporary like books really. I know I ought to because there's a lot of good ones out there. You can if you just read through different midrashic literature from different time periods, you can see how things change gradually over time, and eventually getting to people like Maimonides saying like if all these things are allegorical, all of Mishnah's all of these midrashim are allegorical. Anything that anthropomorphizes God is allegorical, and if anything in Scripture disagrees with my philosophical proofs about God, we must reinterpret the way we look at Scripture. And that's in Guide to Perplexed, and a lot of Orthodox Jews will say, well, he wrote Guide for the Perplexed for non-Jews. It's like, no, it was his like magnum opus of philosophy.
Have you all ever been asked or told that Jesus was one of the Essenes?
I've heard people say that.
That was also in this book, which I just learned about the Essenes from from reading the Jewish War. So
yeah, Jesus wasn't any of the Eans or E's.
Yeah, they said specifically that the mystical teachings had been lost, and that the Essenes were the true rabbis, and that Jesus was an Essene. And again, all of that was stated as fact, which is not a fact. It's just a claim.
You're talking about the Dead Sea Scroll guys, right?
Were the Essenes the ones who preserved the Dead Sea Scrolls?
I thought so. Yeah.
Oh, and then yes,
apparently,
apparently they were super. They were the Essenes were very strict, and one of the funny things that Josephus documents was that they believed all women to be promiscuous, and so they commanded that no one should marry to be an Essene. They said that they didn't believe a single woman could go her entire life without cheating. I was like, this is just the red pill guys today. I was like, there's nothing really changes in 2,000 years. We're all kind of making the same claims.
It's kind of crazy thinking about like the Greeks and the Romans at the time, who are literally like, it was common practice for pretty much every man to not be a virgin by like 12, 13, 14. and they would get married and they would still just go to the prostitutes every day or every week, like as much as they could afford it.
You
And they
see,
were cheap.
Rebecca was 3. It's proof.
The idea that you had to be, it was the women that were the problem, not just the men.
Hussar, you can't just quote 1 Corinthians 7 out of context like that, bro.
I mean, Hussar, we're going to do a whole thing on masonry. I'm not trying to pick apart masonry right now. I do intend to pick it apart in that video because from everything I have read, you have to defend Gnosticism, you have to defend Kabbalah, you have to defend occult practices, you have to defend rituals. And I'm sorry, those are not Christian. That is just the truth. I hate to. I'm telling you the truth in love. If you are someone who thinks that the Gnostics are heretics, if you think that I would argue, yeah, obviously Kabbalah is heretical.
So I actually did a video on Freemasonry. Like, the big problem is this that you have to understand. So again, I know some Freemasons who are pretty prominent in that space. And they'll say things like, well, I have Catholics at my lodge and I have Muslims at my lodge. And my response is, no, you don't, because if you have a Catholic who's at your lodge, they obviously do not submit to the Catholic Church. If you have a Muslim at your lodge, they obviously don't believe in Islam. You can't be both things because one of them precludes the other. So
yeah,
you call it non-worship, you call it non-religious, but you're subordinating your religious beliefs to it, which makes it your God.
Well, and one of my big things, and again, like Hussar, we're a fan of yours. We're not against you in here. I want you to understand. You have to understand how I'm confused, that I see that you go on to like Muslims' pages and you'll debate Allah with them, right? Like that's your prerogative. And we're happy to see you do it. You do a good job. But under Freemasonry and the concepts within Freemasonry, I've read 2 books, actually. I'm not calling myself an expert. I'm learning. I have 4 books I'm working through. But one of the concepts is that the God that the Freemasons worship is a idea of God. It is a deistic God. And it's the claim that all are just names of one God. That has now been into both books I have read have claimed the same thing, that everybody's worshiping the same God and he just goes by different names. So my question then is, how is it fine to go and debate with a Muslim if under Freemasonry and a Muslim Mason brother, you would have to be okay with the idea that Allah and Yahweh are the same? They're both the grand architect, but you don't believe that. So this is a confrontation you have to deal with. How are you in one setting, because you're a Mason, you're okay with, oh, Allah and Yahweh are the same. They're both the grand architect, just different names. But in life, no, you would disagree with that. You know that they're not the same. So I think that, and again, obviously, if you're a Christian, you would believe Gnosticism is heresy. The Freemasons actively are Gnostic. Like the whole idea of Freemasonry involves gnosis. So you have to then reject the idea that Gnosticism is heresy. So again, these are major problems. And I'm sorry, I've been thinking about this. If you told me to go to a mosque, and I apologize, Ash, I know this is not your stuff, but if you told me to go to a mosque and go talk to an imam and get a good idea about Islam from an imam, you would tell me they could do taqiyya and just lie to me to get me to believe what they want. So when you're telling me I should just go to a lodge and go talk to a lodge leader, go talk to a worshipful master and understand Freemasonry, one, because I'm not initiated, they could only lie or tell me very, very grains of truth. So this is like, why should I expect that they would actually tell me the straight up truth if they just want me to become initiated?
They won't. And I'm talking this on a personal level with family members who are Freemasons. They're not gonna be honest with you.
No, and the thing is, and that's not true. But the thing is, both the book, all books I'm reading on Freemasonry are by Freemason authors. I am Hussar. I am not reading. I promise you, 100%. I'm reading Albert Pike, right?
Oh, you mean you're
Robert
not listening to
Lund.
Jay Dyer talking about Freemasonry?
Well, it started there.
He's not.
It
By the
started-
way, if I have to give Jay Dyer credit for anything, it's how he interacts with Freemasons. It's pretty funny.
Listen, I really enjoy Jay Dyer's conspiracy theory videos.
I just don't like him mocking Coptic martyrs.
Well,
you know.
yes, I don't like that. I don't like a lot of the things he
brothers and
says.
sisters in Christ.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just the more I read from Mason authors, again, I am not reading anti-Masons. I'm not reading conspiracy theorists. Hussar, I can quote you the books and you can go look at them yourself and let me know if they're reliable or not. I will tell you exactly what books that it was not political. I'm reading the Esoteric Handbook for the Entered Apprentice Mason by Robert Lund. He wrote one of these for all 3 degrees. And then I read The Masonic Initiate's Guide to Light by Bradrick Joyner, who was also a Master Mason. So nothing I'm reading. The other book I have is A Bridge to Light. Who's this by? Well, Morals and Dogmas is Albert Pike. So that's like the guy.
Morals and Dogma is a pretty wacky book. But again, they'll just say, like, we don't have any actual dogma in the Freemason, so, it doesn't really matter what Albert Pike wrote.
Yeah. Now, and we don't have to stand. We can move on from this.
This somebody's asking me to respond to their super chat. Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Pull that up.
Have them. Yeah.
I grew up in a Jewish home. Yeah, people in the chat, by the way, if you send a super chat, I will get to all of them. Just sometimes we get on a tangent, a conversation. It's not the right moment to bring it up, but we'll get to all of them. I grew up in a Jewish home with belief in Jesus. So I'm guessing some kind of Jewish believing, like messianic home. I know the basics. Any books that can help me know more about rabbinic theology? Yeah. So again, it's not monolithic, but if you want to have a good kind of diverse idea about the spectrum of what Orthodox Judaism is today, you definitely want to read, just like some of Maimonides' basic principles of Jewish faith, the beginnings of like the basics of law, and understanding what the Shulchan Aruch is, like what the codified Jewish law is that most people will point to today. You can get into Mishnah Berurah and other stuff like that as well, but mostly Shulchan Aruch, Maimonides. You should probably read about the life of Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the last Rebbe of Chabad, because Chabad is one of the most popular and large Jewish movements in the world today. Incredibly influential. Read some of his discourses. I wouldn't necessarily get into Hasidic thought that much in Maimarim, more his like weekly discussions on the Parsha, like the weekly Torah portion. And then a lot of the modern Orthodox, a lot of rabbis in general, they're more focused on like Jewish community, Jewish law. If you want to understand more Jewish mindset, like ethics and Jewish community stuff, Jonathan Sachs, who passed away a number of years ago, wrote a ton of books on Jewish ethics and Jewish thought and so on. I had as an Orthodox Jew some deep issues personally with his outlook, but he's incredibly popular in the modern Orthodox Jewish world. So yeah, you could start there probably.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of free resources on Sephora. There's Joshua Culp has done a ton of commentaries on there for free. So if you want to just go through, they have so many different, and then people can also make their own compilations of it. So you can go on, search for a topic, and then just read through not only what the Talmud is saying, what the Midrash is saying, what the Maimonides and everyone else later on is saying, but also doctors, scholars, rabbis' opinions and thoughts on it in real time. So you can just like do a keyword search and just read on that topic, which has been very helpful for me. And it will give you, and you can also read the Kabbalistic text there as well, which we've had some questions about Kabbalah. If you want to read the Zohar or the Essential Zohar is one of the books you can buy on it as well. That is
Where is it?
Andrew has it. It's a summed down version of it that has all of the base beliefs outlined pretty clearly.
And then
you can also.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
This is the
No, I was
Essential
just
Zohar.
I was gonna say that I hear the Talmud is light reading, so you're more than welcome to dive into that as well. You'll leave more confused than you were when you went in.
No, actually,
Oh,
you know what the
man.
funny thing is? When you take Judaism seriously as a Jew, reading the Talmud can at times be difficult depending on what sugya it is, and like there's more difficult things and less difficult things. But it's somewhat enjoyable when you're actually like learning about Jewish history through it and belief system and like getting an understanding about your faith. And so like the Talmud is actually a very interesting text. But it's like then when you're not an Orthodox Jew anymore, it's like, oh, this is so tedious now because it's like it doesn't mean anything
Right.
at the end of the day now.
Oh man.
Like there's no
So there-
importance to it in that sense.
I love how in the Talmud you're just reading, it's like a topic on like marriage or betrothal or divorce. Then it gets into like some random out there outlandish topic for like a paragraph, then it'll go back to the topic. And I love cutting those out of context. There's no context for it really. And then posting them in a chat with people who've never read it and who are not that deep in Islam either. And then I ask them, is this from Islam or is this from the Talmud? And I have them play a little game of
And because
trying to figure out
90% of
which
the time they
one's
say it's from the Quran or from Islam.
it's a mixed bag and
Yeah, it
they're almost always
varies.
wrong. It's pretty
Yeah.
funny. We also had a question. All Freemasons should excommunicated from the church immediately. I'm against you and against the lodge 100%. I guess that's
Why are
not
you
a
against
question,
me?
more
I'm not a
statement.
Freemason.
He was talking to some other person.
I condemn
I think he
Freemasonry.
was, I think he was talking about.
I did before I was a Catholic.
Yes.
Were Maimonides and Kabbalah heavily influenced by Philo? Well, it's hard to say what influenced what to what degree, because there's a lot of Jewish philosophy that develops at the time of Philo. He's rejected by a lot of the religious observant Jewish community, but a lot of his ideas are obviously parallel to core Jewish ideas and just a Hellenized way of explaining it. So
He was-
yeah, I'd say probably to an extent, Maimonides is heavily influenced by Islamic philosophers at the time, Aristotelian philosophy. And again, Maimonides was an incredible philosopher, an incredible mind. He just came to wrong conclusions because of his definitive beliefs that were presuppositions before he did anything else. But he's even quoted by Thomas Aquinas. So
I think Philo was one of the big proponents of the two powers, was he not?
yeah, but
Yeah,
he
he
not
had a
not
divine
not to that
logos.
degree. He's much more of a philosopher than he is religious, right?
No, right. But like from what I understood, I thought he talked about like the quote unquote two gods, right? Where it was like in Daniel, where he doesn't he do
makes a divine
commentary on that.
logos. Yeah.
Yeah.
The two powers in heaven, heaven forbid there be a second power in heaven, I believe is from the Talmud itself. But the talk of a logos who is creator of the universe, all that type of language that's coming from Philo. It could also be coming from the Targums, because you get that with the Memra of the Lord and Neophyte and a little bit in Onkelos, and some in Jonathan. So where John is getting it from, it's kind of up in the air, in my opinion. But they go, oh no, you're Greek because it's all coming from Philo. It's like, well, Jews were just talking about that as well. They were anthropomorphizing the word of God as a agent of God at that time.
So we got from RJ. He sent 2 super chats, but one I think he retracted. Hi Ash, any books on Kabbalah you suggest? I think this is a good opportunity to say, by the way, Kabbalah is very wacky and Kabbalah bad. Okay, Kabbalah bad. Not trying to say that Kabbalah is a good thing, but you should know that a lot of the crazy Kabbalah stuff that you think of about like demonology and things like this, like using it in magic and so on, there's a lot of like new age Kabbalah stuff that's like that. You'll get from like youth in like Nachlaot in Jerusalem, in the Nachlaot neighborhood, and in Sfat and in other places in Jerusalem, in Israel. But the wacky demonology Kabbalah stuff, a lot of the time is actually medieval people taking Kabbalah and turning it into something else. It's like Christian Kabbalah and like medieval like Gnostic Kabbalah and stuff like that. That's like ripping Kabbalah out of Judaism and turning it into something else. So you can't assume that everything that you read that's Kabbalah is actually a Jewish thing. That being said, Kabbalah very wacky. If you're asking like something interesting to read about Kabbalah, that's maybe on like the side where I'd say like this is a good thing to study. I think the Tanya is a really good book to read. Just make sure that you're ignoring the Jewish supremacy side of things and focusing more on the asceticism and relationship with God stuff, because it actually parallels a lot of things in Christianity in a way that other Jewish texts don't today. I would say that the Alter Rebbe and the early Hasidim were heavily influenced by Eastern Christianity. A lot of them were Jews who fell away from Judaism, came back to Judaism through these Hasidic movements, and were like, basically Christians at the time when they were then brought back into Judaism. So there's definitely a lot of influence there. Not going to get into that too much now, but yeah, that would be an interesting text to read that I'd say is not a bad thing to get into. As far as like contemporary books about Kabbalah, what's the guy's name? He's the professor from Hebrew U who like did the big studies, like reviving like academic research and stuff on Kabbalah, like a famous professor at Hebrew U. Let me see quickly. I'm just going to search it quickly because his name is escaping me right now.
It was Joe Biden. He's a Jew.
You two are not. Google brought up
Gershom Shalom. Gershom Shalom was like the founder of that like research into Kabbalah from like a secular perspective, like researching Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. I think he founded like the studies there at Hebrew U, and then Moshe Idel is who I'm thinking of as like a contemporary guy. Moshe Idel is a professor from Hebrew U who's has some books on the development of Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah and stuff like that. I haven't read his books, but I've heard they're very good.
So I haven't read the Tanya yet. Does it say that non-Jews only have the animal soul, or where is that from?
Yeah, I mean that's the Zohar in general. That's just Kabbalistic thought in general. But yeah, the Alter Rebbe talks about that. And then Biblical Anarchy posted super as well.
Yeah, there's a couple out there.
The Earth is flat.
Before that, the Earth is fucking. The Hasidics have a couple interesting things with what they do with Hebrew and like gematria and all that. It's like it's interesting, doesn't mean that it's necessarily true. And just because a group has some esoteric, interesting, semi-coherent, or like you could see a logic behind it, doesn't mean that you should then full-heartedly buy into all of their beliefs. People can, and oftentimes do, whenever they have some off the wall or cultic behavior or any of that, they usually have a kernel of truth or something that is interesting or something that isn't enticing to you. Then the vast majority of the rest of it is nonsense. So you don't want to accept the nonsense because of the little bit that's interesting. So you have to use discernment and guard your heart and your mind whenever you're encountering any new belief. I love Mike Winger whenever he's talking about it, talking about cult leaders or cult followers. You have to treat them, treat them as if they're a sick person that's contagious. So you have to glove up, you have to get a mask on, you have to prepare yourself to touch them, to interact with them, because they might get you sick in the process, but they are suffering from an illness and you actually should help the person. You just have to be careful with how you do it, otherwise you will get sick yourself. Which is pretty based. But
what do you make of the people who have seen the Lubavitcher Rebbe at 770 Eastern Parkway after his death? So here's the thing that you can do with the Meshichistim that you can't do with early Christians is you can get their colleagues who are going, nope, he wasn't there. Yeah, nobody else saw him. So yeah, that's a really big difference. Yeah, I mean, especially with like security cameras and but basically there's no reason to believe that any of those people are sincere, and I guarantee you with 100% certainty not one of them would be willing to get hurt, let alone die for the claim that they saw him after his death at 770. So yeah, that's basically my thoughts on that. There's a bunch of I mean, even in the Chabad world, those people are considered wackadoodles. Like nobody, even people that believe that the Rebbe is going to come back and he's the Messiah, think that those people who actually think that they see him at 770 are wackadoodles. And are you guys familiar with this? So they will one of the minyanim
One of
at
the
10
general
o'clock,
claim.
they will basically, when the Rebbe would have come to pray for that minyan, like that prayer service, they'll make like a line on either side for him to pass through and wait before the prayer services start.
It's kind of like the empty seat for Passover for Elijah. They're just
Okay.
leaving it open and ready for him to come.
Yeah, except there's like reason to have that about Elijah. There's no reason. Like there's some reason to believe that Elijah's like gonna be coming for some important purpose, but
Right, of course.
related to some kind of
So,
second Exodus, as it were.
Does facial hair from all you guys denote seniority?
I am the youngest, obviously, by this but
Yes.
I have done
Are you
this
the
the short
youngest?
maybe no.
No,
No,
by a long
Jesus.
shot.
Yeah.
I'm 22.
Oh, there you go.
No, he's a little baby.
Jimmy Bourbon is saying he wants $1 from the dead Rebbe. I have a Rebbe dollar in my tefillin bag over there.
Madame. So for all the people who say that they're practicing Kabbalah that are like secular, not Jews, they're not practicing like Kabbalah. They're basically just Gnostics with extra steps. So there's a difference between like the popular use of Kabbalah and like what Jews believe about it, which is very apparent the more you get into it and like what the celebrities say that they're following versus what Jews do and live by.
Yeah, I was really disappointed when I finished the Essential Zohar. I was like, okay, so obviously Kabbalah does sound very rooted in like the concepts of gnosis and all these different things. And it sounded like it was combining a lot of different views and different beliefs. But I was really disappointed that it wasn't like the crazy Hollywood eating people stuff. I was like, where did this come from? Like, yeah, it's I don't think it's right, but do I think it's like evil? I was like, I don't know. And so then I looked it up and it was like, oh yeah, that's pop Kabbalah. I was like, dang it, what do I read about pop Kabbalah?
Yeah, dude.
I was like, that's what I was here for. I got
Look
about
at the
halfway through the
files.
book and I was like, this is kind of boring. It's just anyways.
What are our thoughts about the end times and the Euphrates forecasted to dry up by 2030? From the estimate I saw, it was 2040, and I personally think we are towards the end times. Like we've been living in the end times since Christ came and died and resurrected. But I think like as far as like Christ coming back, there's a lot of things that are converging all simultaneously.
So you're not a
Including, like,
dispensationalist.
I'm not a dispensational. I'm a weird.
We've had
middle
this
ground
conversation
person
before.
where I am both of them. I'm both and yes. So I believe in some parts of both.
Chris and I are
So, I'm
somewhere
a
in the
weird-
middle.
Weird one.
Andrew, you're
Yeah.
a dispensationalist. Calm down.
All right, everybody, I've been put in my place.
Yeah, I was
Sorry,
gonna
guys.
say you're too rational for this, Andrew. Come on.
I'm a covenantal dispensationalist. There you go.
Again, covenant
So-
theology really okay. It's just a misunderstanding of both that really bog people down to me, but that's okay.
Wait, you don't think that Jewish people today are bound to the Old Testament covenantal law?
No, of course not.
Okay. Because there are dispensationalists that think that.
Well, there's been dispensationalists throughout the years who have said a ton of insane things. Let me just put
Right,
that
I mean,
out
there's
there for
also
you. Like there
Jewish
are
rabbis
plenty
that
of
suck directly the blood out of the circumcision.
there's
I mean, every
there's
group
been
has weirdos.
right. There's been dispensationalists who for a while believed that people were saved in different ways in different dispensations. That's not what modern dispensationalists believe. So,
Yeah,
Like, I get that
'cause
all
think
the
generally
time.
across the Christian world, the idea is that even the Old Testament righteous people are saved through the cross.
yeah, of course.
So
Right.
Oh, well, that's the idea. Because in Revelation, it says that the Lord Jesus was sacrificed
Christ goes
from
down.
before the foundation of the world. So the idea was that his blood was always going to be what covered the Old Testament saints, anyways. It's not that this was some new innovation that happened later that the Lord was like, oh, hey, I'm going to just send my son now. This was always going to be how it was. But I would also take the position, I think Jerome would also take the same position that whenever the Lord Jesus died, he went into Hades, he went to Sheol, and led captivity captive on 3 days later. So I would be of that position. Some people think he was caught directly up into heaven to be with God, which I don't think is supported. Others people say that he was just kind of, there. I don't believe that.
If you're reformed, you would say he actually fully went to hell.
Right. And I would not
which is
affirm that either.
kind of crazy. But no, I would also affirm the I guess you would call it the harrowing of hell. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah,
the
I
specific name of
affirm
it. But yeah,
Right.
I would say he went
With
to
Abraham's
Sheol.
bosom, that'd be my
Right.
view.
There's a song by a
Uh,
group called Byzantine Rock called "The Harrowing of Hades." You should all go check it out. It's pretty based.
I by the name, is it? You said it's a rock. Is it like rock?
No, Andrew,
Yeah.
it's rap.
Hold on a second. Let
Hey.
me.
It could be. I don't know.
Also, for the what type of Christians are on the panel? Yes.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, there's another question I had that I forgot.
So which
Oh,
one
what
of
did
them is a
you-
Mormon?
What's going on here?
Which one of them? They're not Christian. I was
Yeah, for
what are you asking about? JP Mexican? Mexicano?
Mexicano.
Yeah. That's the common belief, and there is a verse you could interpret as that.
Yeah, so that's in First Peter,
It's
right?
not nearly as clear. Yeah.
No, it's not very clear. There's definitely different opinions. Man, where's
Which
that
is
at?
fine.
First Peter 2. It's the same part where he talks about baptism. Is it First
What was
Peter
the-
2?
What was the question?
Oh,
First Peter
where does it say that
3.
Jesus preached to those in hell?
There,
Or
it's in the
Abraham's
chat
bosom.
now.
Yeah, in First Peter.
Oh, Spotify. I was like,
Where he-
Ash came through. I was like,
So he
First Peter
then-
3:18, 19.
Yeah.
For Christ also suffered for sins, once for all, the righteous for the unrighteous, so that he might bring you to God, having been put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit, in which also he went and made proclamation to the spirits now in prison. The problem is, well, the word now isn't actually in there. So it just says the spirits in prison. Now is inferred. I don't know if I like that translation by the LSB. Because I don't know. I mean, there's ideas that he went and proclaimed his victory over Satan to demons who are in hell. There's the idea that that's the same thing as the harrowing of Hades. But I tend to be agnostic on the whole issue. I think it makes sense that it's kind of like the harrowing of Hades, that he preached to the spirits who are not in prison as in judgment, but in waiting, right? In captivity, in Sheol, and leading them out after 3 days. That's why I would say that Paul says to be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord, is that we don't have that waiting period anymore. But
Who was I rapping with earlier in Discord? That would be Chase.
Mm.
The one bottom right. Tim.
One who
Tim
goes
Drake.
by Tim in this.
Yeah, I
Tim
originally
Drake.
followed your lead. I was Jason, but then I was like, man, most of the people watching will not know who we
don't know who
so,
we are.
So I changed my name back to my actual name.
You know what, Andrew? You make a good point.
The Earth is
Is
not
the Earth
flat.
flat?
That's my.
Wait a second.
See,
No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Okay.
there is the firmament, and space isn't real.
Wait, Andrew Wilson might call in and throw a fit because we're not attacking Ortho Bros. So here's what's interesting. So I love the Orthodox Church. Okay.
Get some cigarettes.
So there's that. What's interesting is that if you do a little bit of investigating, go on Google, look at demographics numbers, check about the number of accounts online that are Orthodox or claiming to be Orthodox, as it were, and you'll notice that there's about 600% more people online claiming to be Orthodox than there are Orthodox Christians in the United States. Which means that many of the people who are attacking various groups, saying that they're Orthodox and that they're the one true church, many of those people don't go to church and are not Orthodox. So there's that. And then if you actually, so there's the fact that the numbers don't add up. And then, sorry, what was I going to say there? There was another part that was important. But I lost my train of thought.
Can you pull up the biblical apologetics comment?
What biblical apologetics?
So LARPers.
There's people
LARPers.
LARPing. They're LARPing
Yeah.
as Eastern Orthodox.
Oh yeah.
Literal LARPers, yeah.
So what was funny was when AP said that because of what the Orthodox people were saying about him and the whole thing, he said, "I'm going to join the Universal Church," and everyone the next day was like, "You see, AP's really wanted to be Catholic this whole time," and blah 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 blah. And he's like, "You guys all just outed yourself that you've never
Yeah, I
said
know.
the creed at church." Because the Orthodox consider
Mhm.
themselves to be the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as far as
Mhm.
AP was concerned at the time, he was already joining or planning to join the Universal Church, and basically got them all caught in that. What's also funny was I'm not going to say which person because I haven't had any negative interactions with him personally, so I'm not going to call him out publicly. But one of the Orthodox guys had a comment where the guy said, "I was a catechumen in the Greek Orthodox Church. And get this, I stopped going because the priest was too ecumenist, and now I don't know what to do."
Oof.
It's like, so you're not going to church anymore in the true church because the priest is too ecumenist, but you're still attacking other Christians? Like, how does that make it? Like, shouldn't you join the church that you think is the one true church then? Like, I'm all for that. Go be Orthodox. You don't have to be Catholic. Go be Orthodox.
Right, follow your following
Like,
your
if you think that-
convictions, but
Right.
but
Go
then you,
get baptized into the Orthodox Church. What does it matter if that priest is too ecumenist? Unless you think his baptisms are invalid because he's too ecumenist. I think the patriarchs will all have something very interesting to say about that. But it was just wild. It's like you're not going to join the Orthodox Church because that priest at that church is too ecumenist?
you know, he's still
I'm dealing with
mentally
that
a
with pastors all the time.
mentally he's still a Protestant. Okay, he's still
Right.
he's still thinking, as soon as my pastor says something I don't like, I have to leave and go find a new church. It's the one thing I commend Redeemed Zoomer on. As much as I think that he has some pretty hardcore stances on some stuff, I do think it would be amazing if all of the mainline Protestant churches could be brought back into some more traditional conservative, Christianity, and they're not, weren't lost to, the
Redeemed
progressive.
Zoomer isn't Jewish?
No.
I'm sure he was Jewish.
Yeah.
He has Jewish heritage. He speaks Yiddish, if I remember correctly.
Sounds Jewish to
Does
me.
he really?
Yeah.
Not like the kind of Jewish
So if
I
you ever
grew up
hear
with, but that
him-
other kind of Jewish.
Huh.
Like the
Yeah,
80,
yeah.
what's it called? The Anti-Defamation League kind of Jewish.
Mm.
Mm.
So
He has
in
that
one of
same
his
kind of voice.
videos,
Yeah.
he recited the opening to Better Sheet, and he did it in Hebrew, and he had the very, very thick, New York Jew accent on it. And then some of the comments were like, "Mashallah, I see that you're a real Jew."
Hey, Hassar, we can bond over that. I also want the Methodist Church back. My church separated from the UMC, so and that is the one thing that if I could ever have a conversation with Redeemed Zoomer about, and I know that there are groups trying to restore the Methodist Church. The problem is you can't. I truly believe it is not possible because it is a top-down hierarchy where you can go through the entire process of getting ratified to be a preacher in the Methodist Church, and because they did the circuit routes, you are completely up to the whim of the hierarchy of the UMC. Like if there was a teacher at my school who did not like my church because her husband was a UMC pastor who didn't get to stay at his church for more than 2 or 3 years. And my pastor had been at his for 15. And she was not happy about that. And so I don't think she had anything against me personally, but if I ever talked about my church, there was some not happy thoughts that came from her end. And my pastor fought off retirement until we could separate from the UMC to ensure that a more progressive pastor wasn't put in place, that it wasn't And like when I say progressive by UMC standards, I'm not talking about like the generalized ideas. There was someone in a UMC a university that said that the new Trinity should be Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and Jesus. And nothing happened. They didn't lose their job. They were fine. No one cared. All and so when I say that certain mainline churches unfortunately just might be lost, like that, when the top controls all of it and they choose who to put in place at every church, and if you try to be like a conservative or traditional Christian, like they're just not going to pick you. They're just not going to ordain you. They'll just ordain somebody else.
UMC stands for United Methodist Church.
I thought it was United States Marine Corps.
Yes, that too.
It is correct.
That's USMC.
USMC.
Yeah.
So we had this question. He asked it like 6 times, or not 6 times. He asked it a number of times.
There is a guy
what
who's
happened to
saying
those
the same thing like 6 times though, asking for the Shroud of Turin thing. Anyways,
I have that in the to-do list as well. We've got a lot of questions. It's going to take a while to get through them. So, what happened to those?
If
who
you
died
super
before
chatted, it
Jesus?
goes faster. Just saying.
It does, yeah. I'm putting priority on those. So let's say China. This is the same thing that happens to people now who die in like Papua New Guinea. They are judged by their knowledge and conscience that they have of God.
No, Ryan Need God says they go to hell.
In the Gospels, it talks about how those who know and do not do the will of God will be beaten with many lashes. Those who do not know and don't do the will of God will be beaten with few lashes. So there's differential judgment and there's differential reward as well. We get in 1 Corinthians that those who are tested by fire and their works survive are rewarded for that, and those who are tested with fire and their works do not survive are still saved, but they don't have any additional reward on top of it. So God is going to be faithful to all the things that we do, and it's based on our knowledge and our willingness to serve the church and God and our love for him. God is a righteous judge. He's a much better judge than we are. He became a man to experience humanity's weakness so that he can righteously judge us fully, because now he knows what we went through and can relate to us in his judgment. So he's the perfect judge. Not only is he perfectly holy, but he's also experienced human weakness. So he knows exactly what it's like to be us, yet he didn't fail. So he is in a position to judge us. So you should just trust that God is holy enough and good enough and righteous enough and the perfect judge that he will accurately and rightly judge those who've never heard the name of Jesus, both before the time of Jesus and after the time of Jesus. Even though Jesus is the one way into salvation, into eternal life, we do get that our conscience will bear witness against us. So as far as that goes, I do not know. I'm not sure what the exact answer is, but I trust God enough to know that his decision will be what's right.
Yeah, I mean, I like citing Romans 2:12 for this. For all who have sinned without the law will also perish without the law. So like, Paul kind of spends the whole point of chapter 1 describing how Gentiles are a law. How Gentiles are a law unto themselves because of their conscience and because of the witness of nature against them. So like, while I am optimistic about the Lord's mercy towards people who have not heard, I also consider it a mercy that they have not heard, because I feel as though the Lord may also be sparing them from greater judgment if they had more light. I would say that if a person receives the light that God has given him gladly and accepts it, then he's given more light. And I think that that's fairly well founded in the Bible. But I don't know. I just say that, I mean, it says that those without the law also perish without the law, being a law unto themselves. So I don't know.
Somebody in the chat wants to know where all your icons are, all of you.
Well,
I have a cross up here.
She scared Jabril away, unfortunately.
It's true. My dogs are in bed. Eduardo, if you want to hop on, I can message you on Discord.
I actually, okay, this is going to be a fun reveal for everybody. I do actually have an icon because
Oh, show us.
I rescued it from a house estate sale where I was like, I just feel like I should not let this just go to like a landfill or something. So I do have one.
So, oh wow, beautiful.
It's also like not a painted engraved one. It is literally just like a print that is put over a piece of wood. But I just
A
felt
lot of
weird
them are like
about
that, though.
I just felt weird about just leaving this. And so I grabbed it. I was like, I need to take this.
That's beautiful.
So,
Hold on to that.
yeah, I have
Hmm.
this.
Before you
So it's
answer that,
possible
just
my
I want to say
foreparents-
something funny about the. So, it just occurred to me I'm no longer impressed with Cleave to Antiquity when he was a Protestant and was like defending icons of the Theotokos because he was just about to become Orthodox. It was like very impressive at the time. Like, oh, that's cool that you're defending that. And then like 5 minutes later, he's like, yeah, I'm Orthodox catechumen. I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, got it.
I still remember getting home from work one day, and I had just watched a Cleve video where he was like attacking like a Catholic position or something, and talking like pro Protestant stuff. And then the very next day, he was like, "I'm becoming Orthodox." I was like, "Oh, what did I just watch?" That was the most like the biggest whiplash I got from between two videos.
So it's possible my foreparents went to Abraham's bosom. Possible, yes. I don't know if they did or not. That's between God and them, but it's definitely possible. Yeah. Again, I trust God that whatever His judgment will be, it'll be righteous and good and holy.
That's kind of been the universal position of the church as well. Because you get
Mhm.
all the time, you get people trying to ask questions about like, well, what about people who've never heard? And like, I have my own answer, but at the same time, like, kind of the universal position of the church is like, we trust that the Lord is going to judge righteously. So,
You know,
Are we not reading the Bible today? No, that's going to be tomorrow's stream. We're gonna
yeah,
go
we
through
don't read the
John
Bible on
in a days.
Sundays.
No, I
I
read
read
it
the
on
Bible
Monday.
today.
Yeah.
that's for church.
Yeah, dude.
No, he joins every. I do a live Bible study every Monday, so we go through the Old Testament, and the New Testament, and exegete it. Talk about the depth in the passages, and he's a Muslim that joins for those, and he asks questions. So that's gonna be tomorrow, brother. We're gonna be going through John 1. It's gonna be pretty good.
Oh, fantastic.
Love you, Faisy.
Also, something I learned has been an argument for forever, and we are not adding a whole lot new to it. But we're going to keep talking about anyways, the determinism versus free will debate. As I was reading the Jewish War, I learned that Josephus documented that the Pharisees were determinists and the Sadducees were free will. And I read that and just stared at it, and I was like, this has been a topic of debate amongst the brethren for 2,400 years. It's like, this is
I don't think all
No.
the Pharisees were determinists, though.
not all of them.
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. I don't think that would make sense.
I
Because the way
mean,
that
yeah.
the way that they
didn't agree with each
describe
other,
following
so-
the law and how you are rewarded for it and such or punished for it, there would have to be a non-determinist, like what do you call it, compatibilism kind of standpoint there. So yeah.
Well, yeah,
The
I would
Mishnah
assume
seems way
probably
more free will
not.
dominant compared to the Gemara, because you get a bunch of places in the Mishnah are like, oh well, any community, half of their sins or like half their actions are sins and half their actions are mitzvah, and if their mitzvah outweighs their sins, then the whole community and the individual is blessed and they're rewarded and given all these good things, and they get also a portion in the world to come. And then if their mitzvah are not outweighed by their bad deeds, the community will be destroyed. They use like Sodom and Gomorrah as an example of it, and the flood and like all that stuff. So they do have some like, hey, you actually have choice, you have free will, and your actions actually matter, and they do things, and it's important. Then you get later on, you get people like, oh no, of course there's not free will. All of our actions are written in the book before we're created, including like your occupation, who you're going to marry, and all that stuff. Like, you get both of it in the Talmud.
Actually-
I'm not sure as much for later because my study so far has been pre-Islam. So
on this topic, now that I was brought up the Sadducees, and that they only like the Torah, but somebody, Ash, I saw you had messaged somebody back in the chat. He did restate his question.
Okay.
Oh, it was like way up here though, but it was about basically if there can be new revelation post Moses. That would, I don't know if he meant in contradiction.
Yeah,
but
there was new revelation post Moses with Moses.
Yeah.
On multiple occasions where, yeah.
Because that, even when he said that though, it made me think like, if you take a hard stance to that, I mean, you pretty much have to have a Sadducee view of the Bible that like you can't even.
And the problem with that is it's like when God made his eternal covenant with Abraham, why didn't he mention the law that was coming at Sinai?
Right.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, I mean, you'd have a really big problem with how God interacted with Abraham than Moses if you didn't believe that there was a progressive nature to revelation. If you didn't believe there's a progressive nature to revelation, and you really did think that there's an eternal covenant that we can break indefinitely and still stay part of, but that also excludes people not born into it for eternity and not as a part of the timeline of salvation, that would by definition mean that some people are less created in the image of God than others, because it's also the source of how you understand God's wisdom, morality, ethics, and an eternally binding level, right? Which would include some and not include others, which would rule out people from basically being humans to the same degree. Which again, you find in some Jewish ideologies.
Faisy, you really are a work of art, brother.
Oh yeah, the laws actually contradict themselves as well per covenant. So the covenant with Adam and the covenant with Noah contradict, and the covenant with Noah and the covenant with Moses contradict. And what Abraham did is unlawful, and what Jacob did is unlawful. Abraham married a sister, and Jacob married two sisters, both of which is against Leviticus 19. So they're directly going against what is in the law, but they're never spoken out against it for those actions. And then in the Adamic covenant, you are not supposed to eat meat. You're only supposed to eat plants. And then in the Noahic covenant, you are able to eat meat now. So there's differences in the covenants. So the covenants themselves that God is enacting at that moment in time actually matter, and they can change what is in them at any point in time. So whenever Jesus gives the covenant that we see in Isaiah of the Messiah giving his Torah, that is the covenant we now have that Jeremiah talks about, where we don't have to keep kosher and the legal code for salvation and all those things. You can if you want to, but it's not for salvation.
Muted.
You're muted.
The guy in the chat who's saying is a troll on my channel. The Roman Catholic Church has a dark history and cannot be trusted. Catholics are idolaters, blah, 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 blah. I'll give you a chance now because I'm usually charitable with people on my channel. I just let you talk and talk and talk and talk, and I'm fine with it. But because you're particularly maliciously stupid, yes, that's a thing, malicious stupidity. I'm going to give you one chance now to say something reasonable, okay? I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to post your response in the chat, and we're going to see if you can be reasonable. What are your thoughts on Saint Maximilian Kolbe? For or against? Do you have a problem with that Roman Catholic?
Like the cheese guy?
The what?
The Colby.
No.
No, Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who took the place of who was a priest who took the place of a Jewish man, and was killed by the Nazis.
Yeah, he was in. Was he in Auschwitz?
I don't remember which death camp it was, but
yeah, I don't remember either. But I know that he took the place. It was a very selfless act.
Cheesecake.
Come on, Gay Paws, if that's how you pronounce your name. Gay Paws. What? That's how it's spelled, right?
You chose
the best pronunciation.
Is Maximilian Kolbe not recognized by Yad Vashem? Wow.
I do. Somebody did ask a question that I actually thought was. I also want the answer to this. How does modern Judaism handle the double Yahweh
I
passages?
just started that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's we'll get to that in a second. I want to see what Gay Pause says.
I don't think he's gonna respond.
Yeah.
No?
Get your paws out of the game, man.
Okay, you have another minute to respond before I time you out.
Yeah, because one of his other things just
Oh, we also have this one. Just fun.
Let's go build a boat.
How did the Sadducees take 70 AD? They were sad, you see.
it's
true.
good. It's good.
Christianity is false. All you need to do is read
Chakra.
the. I asked you about Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who took the place of a Jewish man in the concentration camps and was killed by the Nazis. So there you go. You get a timeout for 24 hours. Let's do it. Bye bye.
Okay, pause your game.
That's what I was about to ask.
Pause because his name is with the W.
True.
So
Mm.
there's your answer.
Is that like a furry thing?
Indeed.
I was about to say, I tend to think that people who have paws are gay.
Okay. So, is there any way to possibly see the parable of the Good Samaritan also point to Christ's return? For example, when he paid 2 denarii, and if it costs more, he'll pay the rest of it on his return. I have never thought about this.
That's a really good question.
Has anyone
I
else
don't
thought about it?
I don't know how that would be analogous though. I think it's just a general I think it's just a good story about a good dude. I don't know that it's got much eschatological weight.
That's interesting though.
I want to take a picture of it because I want to think on that. All right.
I've never thought about it.
Just
so
because I'm sure it
I'll
probably
think about
Chris
it.
is
get back
probably
to you.
right, but
Well, I mean, look, if you hey man, the only thing that the Lord Jesus is gonna be dealing out when he comes back is a bunch of punishment on some dudes. So that's all I'm saying.
hey, maybe that's the second payment.
That's the second payment. He's like,
That's-
he was like, man, you did really good at the beginning, but you started beating up this sick guy here. Like this, you know.
By the way, another thing about the Holocaust thing with the Catholic Church, a lot of people call Pope Pius Hitler's Pope. What's really interesting about that is that the chief rabbi of Rome after the Holocaust was so moved by Pope Pius and what the church did for Jewish people in Europe during the Holocaust that he converted to Catholicism and took the name of the Pope, like his prior secular name, as his baptismal name, citing the beauty of what the church did for the Jewish people as the first thing that inspired him. I have family members, like relatives of my dad, that were saved by Catholic families. So, yeah.
Yeah. People always brag. So there are some legitimate things that the Catholic Church, or not the Catholic Church, that individuals within the Catholic Church did that were messed up. But you can also say that about pretty much every other denomination. Even if it's like the leaders, like sure, there's bad leaders in every country, there's bad leaders in every community, there's bad leaders in every religious system. Just because there were bad leaders in the system doesn't mean the whole system is bad. You have to actually argue based on what they believe and teach and all that stuff. Then you can disagree with it. But just being like, oh, well, that person was a bad example of Jesus, therefore Christianity is false. That's kind of the same thing you're doing with the popes. Now, sure, you could say, oh, well, the popes have a higher authority claim, but they're not claiming it's not it's not it. You have to actually have a reason to not be Catholic, and that I don't
Oh my
think should
god.
be your
I
reason
really
to not
hope
be
he
Catholic.
means smuggled kids.
Oh nah, that's
You mean smuggled, right? Because he got caught
Oh,
is
yeah,
also not
okay.
clarifying. He got caught, really didn't clarify anything there.
Oh no!
Dude,
That was-
brother.
was very- Hey, that was very brave of your uncle for after you clarified. That was very cool. That was very cool.
That is awesome.
Glad you clarified.
Yeah, Uncanny Mountain, not ask us anything, but ask us and we'll ban you. No, it wasn't somebody asking anything. It was somebody spamming the same thing over and over and over and over again. and not responding when we gave him a chance to engage. So now you can go too.
Right.
No one has ever said Trump is the Antichrist, but non-Christians.
5 minute
Yeah,
timeout
he's
for being a
Muslim that
liar.
comes to my
5 minute for
he's a
being a
Muslim that comes to my
liar.
comment section quite often.
Yeah.
Even-
Yeah.
Here's what.
Wait, the statement itself doesn't even make any sense. Even if he was, how does that have anything to do with whether or not Jesus can pay for your sins? Because he just said, if Trump is the Antichrist, doesn't that prove Jesus can't pay for your sins?
No.
That is, those things are not connected at all. That doesn't make any
Correct.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways,
Will we ever find the lost books that are talked about in the Bible? Absolutely not. Books disintegrate very quickly within like 200, 300, 400 years. They're almost all but ash, especially if you have any humidity whatsoever. Now, the Levant is very good at preserving books, but even in the Levant, you still only have a tiny, tiny fragment of what we actually was written during any of like world history.
Yeah, what we
Unless
should
it was
have.
written on stone, it probably didn't survive till this day. Even on
One-
papyrus, it's still not going to survive, well, especially papyrus, but even on parchment, it's not going to survive that long. Like even the hides will break down pretty quickly.
I would also like to say that as a proud Protestant myself, Zwingli, Luther, and Calvin weren't exactly saints themselves. Just throwing it out there.
I remember when over the years
Friendly
that I was
people doing
studying
back anymore.
Christianity before becoming a Christian, I came across something called Judensau, which was very popular with Lutheran churches in Germany, where they would depict Jews doing all kinds of nasty things with pigs. Yeah. So one of them is, there's just two of them that are still up. One that they refused to remove, and one that the Jewish community demanded they keep up with a plaque explaining what it is.
Mm,
That's insane.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. We're gonna
uh,
talk about, if we're gonna talk about
honestly, I think-
anti-Semitism and Christianity, let's not
Oh,
go
yeah.
let's not go first to the Catholics.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Or well,
Nazis.
to be fair, I mean, we can't ignore church history in general when it comes to anti-Semitism. It started fairly early on.
You know, after 400 years that Jews were turning over Christians to the Sassanids and Byzantine and Romans.
Yeah, for sure.
there was some major hostilities there, and then there was another. Hold on, I saw a comment that somebody posted about circumcision, and somebody said the earliest church didn't circumcise. What are you talking about? I love when someone just starts watching the live, goes to the very beginning, but still comments as if they're watching live. It's my favorite thing. 'Cause we haven't talked about circumcision for like an hour. So
Are you
What
guys
is
also streaming to
Abe
your channel?
Lincoln talking about? No,
Hmm? No, I didn't know if Chase set that up or not.
no, I didn't.
I've
really
never
care
done that
to.
from my end. So
I don't.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, no. Andrew's signed into Thaddeus's account somehow,
yeah.
so he can't even stream to his own channel. He just
Yeah, but-
is on a different YouTuber's channel.
I'm just Reasoned Answers. I'm his other half. He doesn't know it. He doesn't
Yeah.
know who I am.
Or do you do his
But-
channel?
No.
Well,
Oh,
Apparently, somehow.
apparently I am. You know, I don't know how.
He's just actually he's just logged into his Google somehow.
But we have a mutual friend who Usama Dakdak, who does a lot of work in Muslim apologetics, and he has a shared StreamYard that he's a part of, and there were seats available, and so they gave us a seat on the shared StreamYard. Now, how I ended up with the Reasoned Answers account, I don't know, and it hasn't been an issue as far as I'm aware. We've both been able to do our own thing, so I don't know, because Chase doesn't set up the live streams. I do.
Nope.
So I don't know how. That's whatever.
Andrew and Thaddeus both have cats. It's a conspiracy.
Mm.
Cat overlords.
Jewish cats.
I can't
There's
give
a
away any of the
Cat
secrets.
coalition.
Jewish cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
they're part of
conspiracy,
the
bro.
Cat Masons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I have a coworker who would believe that. Jewish cats.
Oh,
I swear to you.
no! I'm sorry, Ola Martinez. I'm so sorry. he was commenting about something that one of the guys who's been spamming the chat said. I apologize.
What do you
that was
say?
wrong.
What are you talking
Just
about?
call him out, man.
Well, no, I don't know what he was commenting. Oluwin Martinez was the one who said the thing about circumcision that I was saying, like, oh, that person is like way behind. He said I was commenting about what Abe Lincoln 2064 commented, who that guy has been spamming the chat. So I apologize, Olo. You caught my wrath for no reason.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Berman says in the chat that his cat is ethnically Jewish by proxy. So this is really interesting. So when our dog died, when I was a kid, my mom was like, "Is there anything that like halachically we're supposed to do with the body of a dog, like according to Jewish law?" And my dad's like, "I don't think so." I don't know. So my mom called our community's rabbi and asked him, and he said his response was, "It's a dog," and then hung up. Yeah. And my dad is like, "Told you so."
That's wild.
Yeah.
But they have laws for literally everything. You would imagine that they'd have laws for dogs.
You'd be like, yes, and when your dog dies, make sure it's not on the Sabbath, because if he dies on the Sabbath, well, you're out of luck. No.
His cat is both a Jew and a Christian by proxy. Yeah. So he has both the covenants.
So Ash, sorry, go ahead. We're
This
interacting with the
cat's
chat.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna
we have
ask-
like 20 questions backlogged.
I was just gonna ask about your thoughts. One of my favorite, Yahweh claims that Jesus makes in the New Testament is in Mark's Gospel. Whenever he claims to be the Lord of the Sabbath, are you particularly fond of that one as well?
Where Jesus says he's the Lord of the Sabbath?
Yeah.
What do you mean by particularly
Maybe
fond
that.
of it? Like,
Well, because I know that's kind of like Sabbath law is very important in Jewish
Right.
understanding, and so to declare yourself to be Lord of the Sabbath is not just something that
right, I like it because it's clearly a statement of his divinity.
right.
Right.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
It's not so much like on a cultural level, but more just the blatant claim that he's in charge of what the Sabbath is and isn't.
Right.
He's the one that rested, so to speak, on the seventh day.
Right.
Right. That's what's really moving there.
So, but you would Jews universally would understand that to be a divinity claim, just in general.
To say Lord of the Sabbath, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like what you're saying about the Sabbath is wrong. What I'm saying is right because I'm the Lord of it. Yeah, that's obviously a divinity claim. Anyone who says otherwise, it's kind of foolish.
Okay. Because that's kind of my favorite divinity claim in the Bible at all, and it's in Mark, which is also very helpful to me. So,
Can you get unanathemad? If you get anathemad, can you be unanathemad? Yes. It's been the classical understanding for pretty much every group that anathematizes people. The point is that you are handing them over to Satan so they're chastised so that they repent and come back to God. Not that you're specifically condemning the hellfire. The goal would be for them to repent and quit their heresy. Now, whether or not you believe that all the anathematized statements are heresy, that doesn't really matter. That's actually what the purpose of it was for. So
Can you star RJ's comment about Romani and Jews just for afterwards?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. You want to go ahead and answer that?
Yeah. Do I think the Romani people and Jews have a special connection? In a way, I guess any group that's been like nomadic and had to leave different places over and over and over again, persecution. Yeah, I would say that there's probably a
They
connection
got
there.
holocausted together.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my best friends is Romani, which is interesting. He's nothing like a Jew. They're very colorful, interesting, unique people.
Hey, there are colorful,
and
interesting,
Romanis.
unique Jews.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, but if you've experienced a full congregation of Romanis, it's
My mom
unique
actually growing
experience.
up had a friend who was a Romani lady who was like a horse whisperer or something like that.
She wasn't colorful, Chris.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean they're pretty dark.
Faisy, my friend, I know you're having a debate with somebody in the chat with like Hussar in the chat right now. I'm just going to tell you, saying my greatest evidence is that something just makes sense is not good evidence. That is a personal claim. That is not something that can actually be tested, or we can test it and prove it doesn't make sense. We can't test your
Yeah.
personal belief. You just can hold to that. But
Yeah.
Islam makes less sense than
Faisy,
Mormonism.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
yeah, that'll be a
We'll
tomorrow
can-
Yeah,
conversation.
can-
makes
I just-
sense
I
because
needed
my
it.
brain says so is not an answer.
Yeah. Oh, Ash, somebody. Sorry.
Go ahead.
We've
Somebody
been
had asked
waiting
you.
on that.
Sorry, somebody had asked you earlier why you didn't choose to be a Messianic Jew. Did you already answer that?
No, I've answered it on other streams, but I can talk about it. For me, and I want to be careful here because I don't have an issue with my friends who are Messianic and evangelical and whatever else it is. My goal with what I do on my channel is not specifically to convince people of the Catholic faith, though I am Catholic and I do think that you should be Catholic. My goal is to get people to come to belief in Christ, and wherever you go from there onwards, you do you. So the reason is because for me, the claims of the Catholic Church, and I would put the Orthodox in the same category here, were more seemed more plausible as to the continuation of the faith from the Bible. Specifically, if we're going to say that the entire Old Testament points to Christ, there are going to be other elements of it that would also need to be pointed to, which would include, though not with the sacrificial system of the Old Testament, still having an established visible priesthood that's responsible for that administration of that covenant. That would be the main big one moving from there. And then, not going to get into it too much now, but I find the claims of the Catholic Church to be more realistic as far as continuity with the apostles.
So did you consider Messianic Judaism for a time?
No.
Was it part? No. Okay.
No. I will say this. Before the switch went off where it was like, oh, I actually do believe in the claims of Christianity, when it was like intellectually starting to believe kind of that the claims are plausible, Protestantism seemed more appealing to me.
Yeah, pretty based.
Like it just seemed more appealing overall. But once it came to truth claims about, oh, now I actually believe that Jesus is God, that's where it was like very quickly towards Catholic and Orthodox, and very specifically from there to Catholic.
Okay. All right, Chris, you can bring your question up now. I'm so sorry. I want to interrupt you again.
It's okay. I mean, this person asked this question like 40 minutes ago. I don't know if they're still here. But Bart Ehrman and some other scholars say that the Hebrew language didn't exist as we know it today at the time of Moses, and that the Old Testament text we have was no later or no earlier than 400 BC. Yes and no. The Hebrew language existed in 1500 BC in Egypt. We have two river tablets in Goshen that has Hebrew on it, and it includes El and Yah. So it includes God's name in Hebrew using Egyptian hieroglyphs. This is called Proto-Sinaitic. We find Proto-Sinaitic all over Har Kokhom, which might be Mount Sinai. There's like 3 mountains that could be Mount Sinai. I lean towards Har Kokhom because it has, not only does it have ancient 1400s, 1300s BC inscriptions in Proto-Sinaitic, it also has a menorah, and it has a burning tree, a burning bush, and that has Yah's name on it. So you have a lot of really, really, really late, right around the time of the Exodus, and carvings of obviously Semitic people that are not Egyptian, but are using the Egyptian language, and that language itself matches pretty closely to what you see in the Torah's use. So the Torah has 1% of its language being Egyptian loanwords, and it very likely could have been that the Bible that was originally written, the Torah that was written by Moses and his scribes, was written using Proto-Sinaitic, which then would become Paleo-Hebrew, or Phoenician is what some people call it, and then it'll eventually become more towards modern Aramaic writing and modern Hebrew. But that happened way later into history. So much so that they're even debating which script they need to use in the Talmud, in the Mishnah, in like the 100 AD, 50 AD. Like at the time of Christ, there was still debate on, do we use the Aramaic script or do we use the Hebrew script? Which script are we using? And then there's even a Hebrew script before the Hebrew script before the Aramaic script. So Hebrew itself as a language dates back to the Exodus in Egypt. We have half a dozen or so objects that have that language written on it. And then as far as the Old Testament we have only goes back to 400 BC, and there's like all these different scribes and traditions that are all blended together to make one book. A lot of that is conjecture that we don't have firm evidence for. They deny divine inspiration and authority and authorship. Therefore, they can't make specific claims that we make about the text. But the text itself has been validated over and over again archaeologically on pretty much every story that it has in it. So it has a lot of truth in it. Now, did it go back all the way back to the time of Moses in that form? We're not sure, but we do know that the Jews were meticulous in how they preserved this text, both before Jesus and after Jesus, so much so that the text is more or less exactly the same, other than vowel differences, which they change in the Masoretics. But the Aleppo Codex is not that different than the Dead Sea Scrolls. So
Have to
it was at
interrupt for a
least
second. Uncanny Mountain was in a
What?
temporary ban, and now they came back and somebody's asking them about their background, whatever, and they said Tuvia Singer is a Terry.
Mhm.
Yeah, so buddy, like you're claiming that we're banning you for asking questions, but I am gonna ban you now for 24 hours for slandering somebody in my chat. Even if it's Tuvia Singer, I'm not gonna let you slander them in the chat and say stuff like that. So there you go. You have me
Yeah,
defending.
he was
he'll
also-
either come to my stream.
You have me defending
It'll come
Tuvia
out
Singer
tomorrow.
now.
He also claims that there's
Yeah.
no archaeological evidence for Christianity. So he's kind of just an idiot.
Oh, it's
I'm being
so
honest,
stupid, man.
like actually just an idiot. I don't
Yeah.
care to interact with people like that.
Yeah.
How do you have
Well,
me
I
defending
Googled it.
Tuvia Singer in my chat? Come on. That's the worst part about it.
Chris, the comment that you were working through though, the book, one of
Yeah.
the books I'm reading straight up said like, yeah, majority scholars agree that all of the Old Testament was formulated after the Babylonian exile. And I just started, I let out like a huge sigh. I was like, ugh. It's like, no, it was
Yeah, no, it's
not.
just not true.
It was
There's
like,
so much content of the Tanakh that can't be before or can't be after the exile, because we see what happens after the exile. The language itself changes, the way they talk changes, the names themselves change. So unless you're like, oh well, they were just very careful, but even Ezra himself changes Kings and Chronicles. So Samuel and Kings and Chronicles is written more in the Aramaic, more in the exilic style by Ezra than it is before Ezra. So the content itself goes back to at least before the exile, which would be before 400 BC. So it's kind of nonsense. There's so many things that just do not work, but they can't have like, oh well, this is actually like legitimately preserved for 1,000+ years. So we're not gonna have it be true.
I would
Yeah,
say
no reason
that
for it to not be true.
sorry, they were talking about evolution in the chat. I would not say that evolution contradicts the Bible. I think it's wrong for other reasons, personally. But you know,
I'm gonna do a stream on that with David soon. It's gonna be pretty based.
Yeah, and to the guy saying, like, I've known Tuvia, I've interacted with Tuvia Singer. I found his polemics against Christianity incredibly dishonest, but I'm not going to sit here and slander him and call him a Terry. And like, he wasn't unpleasant to talk to. Like, it's not like my apologetics and what I address with Tuvia Singer when it comes to Christianity is going to be what it is. But you can't sit there in a live stream and throw out accusations like that and not expect a response. Like, it's just Like that's a little bit extreme to call somebody.
And they're not even here to defend themselves. So, like, why do it anyway? Where can you learn more about the earliest Hebrew writing? There's a scholar at BYU who's a Mormon. Mormons actually do a ton of archaeology for the Levant. They don't do much at all for America. And the ones that they have done for America have been a lot of forgeries.
For
Can't
very
imagine why
obvious
wouldn't-
reasons.
Yeah, I can't imagine why they wouldn't do archaeology in America to find the Jews that went here after the exile. Anyway, he actually did a really good job with it. So he has written a good bit on it. It's on almost everything on the BYU research faculty. It's all free on their website. So they do a lot of really good archaeology just in the Middle East, not at all in America. But that's all free. It's all available there. The Wikipedia has a little bit on it, but really you have to go to the primary sources because the Wikipedia is just like very surface level. Most of the inscriptions actually have, like I can bring up one real quick on my computer. I did a video on this topic already on my channel in my Hebrew series, where I go through like some of the Hasidic views and other things.
I just posted in my chat a video that I did talking about the Paleo Hebrew script and how it relates to Christianity.
It's pretty neat. You can actually use it pretty easily. So you can use this in a variety of different arguments in a variety of different ways. The way that Hasidic Jews and rabbis actually use it to talk about the Torah, you can use it to talk about Christianity and like be evidence for Christianity. But here's a really cool one. This is Har Kokom. So this could be Mount Sinai, and that is a burning bush. But the yod, the nail with the circle on the bottom, is one of the shorthands for Yah. So this is Yahweh in a burning bush, which is just so cool, man. And I have so many other ones in that video. It's like a 40-minute video just going through all this. One of the really cool ones is this one. This is also at the base of Har Kokom, and it's 12 stone pillars at the base of the mountain. And this mountain has all of this really ancient Hebrew writing in Egyptian script. So it's pretty cool. This one's my favorite. So this is one of the river tablets, and this is El. So that's an Aleph and a Lamed. So this is the god El, or just the word for God in Hebrew / Canaanite, but this is in Egypt in 1500 BC using Egyptian hieroglyphs. So this is the Hebrew word for God in Egypt during slavery, before the Exodus, in the Egyptian language, because the Egyptians were the first to invent an alphabetic script, and the Jews basically co-opted it for their own. No, if Allah knew, is the newest one. If Allah knew that most people would believe the crucifixion form of religion, why didn't he just let Jesus?
You know what Christians believe, right?
You're so close.
So close, Faisy.
You're so close.
1 or 2 IQ points more, and you're there.
You got it, bro.
No, I do think he just has some spiritual blindness. He's asked a lot of really good questions, and I think he is coming closer to the truth. I inshallah, in a couple months he'll be a Christian. We'll do a stream with him on how God destroyed his Islam belief. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff.
I don't do apologetics with Islam, but I do like saying things like powerful dawah.
It's a fun word.
This is the proof.
There's 3 mountains in Sinai that could be Mount Sinai.
So
Har Kokom is just one of them.
I would like to get y'all's opinion on something. Whenever the Lord speaks to Moses and he tells Moses that he was not known by his name to those who came before him, what would you say that means?
Well, wait. These two are much more expert in this than I am. But I wanted to ask this too. Hold on. Because so God reveals himself to Abraham as El, but he reveals himself as El Shaddai to Moses. So there is some form of one of the arguments I have heard is that there is a progressive revelation, and that El could be in reference to one of the Canaanite deities, which I would reject parts of that explanation. I think it's kind of like how the name Baal is just another name for Lord. And so there's also an argument that most of the time you see Baal, it's a generalized name, not specifically a name of a specific
there's
deity.
qualifying names that come after it, like Baal Peor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which Rashi thought was like a poop idol.
Yeah.
So I take it that like El, I get where they're saying that could be the same, like the storm god of the Canaanites, but I don't typically.
What I'm saying is that Abraham calls God Yahweh in Genesis.
Yeah. So does Laban.
Right. So what does God mean when he says, "You shall by my name was I not known to them before you"?
Right.
What does he mean by that?
There are many figures who know God's name as Yahweh before Moses. He appears to him, and even like the Moses is describing him as Yahweh throughout the entire all of Genesis basically, but he's still called Yahweh explicitly. So it could be that that always has been his name. That's how all humanity knew him. And that the Tower of Babel, only the Semitic people retained that knowledge, and the other people who were confused got different names for him, like Shangdi for China, because Shangdi is exactly like Yahweh. There's only very few minor differences between the two. And then you get into the pagan side of it, because Chinese people were monotheistic, who kind of sound more like Jews, or at least Christians. Like there are symbols for salvation, there's symbols for flood, there's symbols for like all that is very, very biblical sounding. So it might be that at the time of the dispersion from the Tower of Babel, all humanity knew about the one monotheistic God that was in control of everything, that created everything, and they knew him covenantally. And then the languages changed, and the people that kept the Semitic language kept it as Yahweh, or that Yahweh adopted the Semitic version of his name as the covenant because those were the covenant people. It's kind of hard to tell if Yahweh was always his name, and like if the language Adam was speaking was like Hebrew, or if it was some other Adamic language, or even is the heavenly language. Like the Tower of Babel, God removed our ability to speak in tongues as a language, and then Pentecost brought it back,
Amen,
but
ruined it for
without full
everyone.
understanding. Yeah. You said Haman?
Funny.
Oh, the Tower.
Because it's what's funny is I'm gonna get Jews on my stream being like, "Oh, you see, Ash thinks that Haman built the tower." Like they won't get the reference.
Yeah.
So I had a really interesting.
Oh, yeah, also-
I was telling Chris earlier. I was at a Shabbat meal, and my brother and I were telling the rabbi whose house it was, that in the Quran it says that Haman built a tower for Pharaoh to challenge the God of Moses. And this rabbi was pretty sharp, and his instantaneous response was, "And let me guess, immediately afterwards they sailed away from Egypt on boats made of kreplach," which are like these little dumplings that Jews eat for certain occasions. It's like just mix everything together.
And they came to
including
America.
modern Eastern European Jewish foods.
And they left little treasures for
yeah.
Joseph to find.
Then they became the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
And
then they
some of
were
them live on the
supposedly
moon.
killed. Yeah, I don't know.
Except the ones in the Arctic and the ones in the moon.
Right.
Yeah.
You notice how all these like false religions have somebody sneaking away being the real people who then set up shop somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
But like they're really the real ones
Yeah.
and everyone else was like the fake ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And they like
But
made a new
imagine
one, but they were the real
still believing-
civilization.
Yeah, Ash, you could have just as well been born in America, dude. So
I would be a real Israelite then.
exactly.
It's kind of like how they all have like the random encounter with some either saint or angelic being that comes to tell them that they're the real true prophet that needs to go and tell the world about the real God. Because even the claims of Kabbalah have that. And not to make beef with the Kabbalist in here, but that's
I make beef with the Kabbalists. Maimonides made beef with the Kabbalists. So
Well,
there's
then, you know what?
Amen.
Well, he also
Amen.
just didn't like any of the mystical stuff.
I don't think he liked anybody.
No one really liked him. They burned his books. Did Noah call God Yahweh then? Maybe. Again, I
Could
don't know
be.
what language the pre-flood people spoke.
But
or
Ash,
even the
what
people
would be
before
your opinion on that?
Adam.
Like, why did the Lord say he was not known by his name Yahweh before, even though Abraham called him Yahweh?
I don't know,
Or
it's a good
at the
question.
very least,
I'd say it probably has something to do with like the fullness of revelation about him that Abraham knows that the prior people didn't, maybe.
okay.
And especially because Jesus then talks about that, like Abraham awaiting his day, right?
He saw my day and was glad.
And so there could be a direct reference to the way in which Abraham was the first one to see God that way and know God that way in a way
Or
that
have a
was not
relationship
known.
with him in that way. Yeah.
Because you would affirm that when Moses was
So-
walking with the God that he would visit with face to face in the tent of meeting was Jesus, right? Like you would affirm.
Right. So when God goes on to not just Moses, I'd say that when God goes on to Sinai and it says that they ate and they drank and they beheld the God of Israel, and that's Moses, Aaron, the elders, right? That is Jesus.
Right.
And Sam Shamoon has a really interesting thing that I heard him say that I hadn't thought of it at all this way before, but about the carving of the law into the ground, into the sapphire pavement. And then when the Pharisees try to condemn somebody to Jesus, he's sitting there carving in the ground about the law.
I think I've seen that actually.
Mhm.
Gosh, I wish Sam Shamoon wasn't crazy. his his mind is insane. But it's insane in all ways.
Yeah, Sam's really good. what he
I
does.
I do respect that how much good he's done.
So
Yeah.
there's a couple of different theories that I've heard. Number one is that Moses is retroactively inserting Yahweh's name into Abraham's mouth, just because that's what the people who would have been reading the law would have understood at the time. So Abraham could have well called him a different name, but he inserted Yahweh instead because that's who he was talking about. It could also, I've heard it be as though it's not that they didn't know Yahweh's name, but they didn't know Yahweh in the same way that Moses would come to know Yahweh, in a more
Right.
personal, intimate, and in
Creator
some
of the
ways
universe and-
judicial way to Moses. But I thought there was one more. Oh yeah, it's just wrong. Yeah, and there's that one. That's a Bible contradiction. So yeah. I tend to lean more heavily towards the second. I think that Abraham probably did say Yahweh, but I don't think that what God is saying is that he was not known to them as Yahweh, but that he was not fully, that he had not made himself known to them in the same way. So
There's an interesting supposed Bible contradiction that's just very obviously not a contradiction. But what's funny is it's in a passage that rabbinic polemicists will use to talk about how God can't be a human being ever or have a human form. And it's in, let me hold on a second. Let me listen up here because I can't remember exactly.
Steve Stevens with me. That's how I know I'm right.
Stephanie.
Steph.
Thanks, Stephen.
That's not Stephen.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
not Steven?
No.
My fault.
That is, in fact, a woman.
Steph, never mind.
She's actually helping me. Pretty cool chick. No, Stephen, way earlier on, actually gave his opinion. He says in Hebrew, name carries a sense of character as well. God showed his character of Yahweh throughout the Exodus by being all that Israel needed when they needed it. Yeah. So yeah,
in
I mean-
1 Samuel 15, and Tuvia Singer does this in all his debates, he puts on his like most Jewish accent and he very proudly proclaims, and God can't be a person. V'gam netzach Yisrael lo yishaker v'lo yinochem ki lo odom hu lihinochem. That's exactly how he says it. I'm not even kidding. Which means, and the glory of Israel does not deceive or have a change of heart, like he doesn't regret things because he's not a man that he should have a change of heart. So he'll point this out as, well, God isn't a man. God doesn't have these human characters or whatever else it is, right? And I've asked people in my comments who have like quoted Tuvia Singer using this as a proof, going, "Oh, what do you have to say about that? Huh? God's not a man." And I'm like, oh, so are these passages in 1 Samuel literal ontological statements about the nature of God? And they go, yes. And I go, well, you got a Bible contradiction, because in the very same passage, about a few verses earlier, let's see here. Let's go back to the beginning. 1 Samuel 15. It's about Saul. I regret I made Saul king.
Oh yeah.
Verse 11. Wait, didn't you just say that the verse saying that God doesn't have regrets is an ontological statement about the nature of God? Well, well, then we have a problem, because in the same passage that's talking supposedly quite literally here about the ontological nature of God, in verse 11, God goes, I regret something. And then a few verses later says, God doesn't have regrets. Did Tuvia teach Ash Yiddish? No, Ash spoke Yiddish at school growing up, but it's rusty now, so don't ask me.
Man, is that before or after he got Pikachu?
What?
No, Pokemon.
Ash
Ketchum.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. If there was a, can you imagine
American.
a Yiddish Pokemon for the Hasidic community?
That's one region. That's one region that the games haven't touched.
Yeah, dude, they have not touched the Levant, bro.
I wonder why.
You just imagine you're just a Pokemon trainer walking through the old streets of Jerusalem.
Most of my
Also, Randy's.
most of my memory about Yiddish is just all the bad jokes and the naughty jokes.
The cursing and all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Same with me for German. So Jizya for the
Man,
channel. God bless you all.
Satmar
Thank you,
Hasidim
brother.
have some really nasty jokes in Yiddish that are only funny in Yiddish.
You said Ash Maiz defending Iman Singer. Not on my 2026 bingo card. God bless you and your family, Ash.
Thank you.
One of the things that I would, I like the way that God Logic argues this point is he says, if God were to become a man, would he be a man that would lie? The answer is, of course not, right? No. If God were to become a man, he would not be a man that would lie.
Isn't
And
Pikachu
so-
and Akipa just a Keepachu? You say that, and then it sounds too close to just saying "keep a Jew," and then people think that's a slur, and then your stream gets taken down.
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful. Chris has gotten taken down for less.
Yeah, dude. That's the only time my stream's ever gotten taken out. Like, I've said some outlandish things.
Oh, I
I'm
know.
abrogating myself in real time from earlier in the stream. I've said some outlandish things on stream. I've only ever gotten taken down for quoting the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
How stupid is that? Anyway.
Rebisar, Pinchas Chu, Sinai Duck.
That's wild, bro.
Ash Maiz is anti-Semitic, you see. Yeah. This is what
Freemasons won't take you down.
I told my dad that people have called me anti-Semitic on the channel, like even people from our community. What? I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad still wears a black hat.
Yeah.
Puts on Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam tefillin every day.
Mm.
If the world is flat and is held up by a giant turtle, what holds
Which
up the turtle? The answer is it's turtles all the way down. So
I
for
think the
those who do
turtle's
not
the
know,
essential primary cause of everything.
Right.
The Islamic
turtle always
sources
was.
says that the entire world rests on a turtle.
The
No,
turtle
that's a
In
joke,
was
right?
Islam, the world
and
is
is and will come.
Wait a
the world
second.
is, and it's not a joke. The world is flat. There's 7 worlds that are all flat that are stacked on top of each other, and the bottom world is stacked on top of a turtle. So
I think that's also the plot line of one of the books. Discworld, pretty sure that's the plot line to Discworld, one of the fantasy books by crap, what's his name? He's passed now, but
No, none of us are Jews.
famous fantasy author.
Yes.
I can't think of his name.
No, we are not ethnically Jewish. But I
see
am
the question that
American,
said-
so
the
maybe.
person who said like I should make you all Noahides, like that cult. I was like, you could go door to door, knocking. Have you heard about your Lord and Savior, Rabbi Skoback?
Do I have a religion for you?
Terry
He says he has a serious question
Pratchett.
for you.
Terry Pratchett. That's what I was thinking of.
He says he has a
Maybe.
serious question, but then there's no question.
Yes.
Make him super chat it.
Super chat question, or you get the band hammer.
Yes,
Have you
that's
read the
what it is.
Gospel
It's
of
not the
Benny
question he's about to ask. Yeah, have you read the Gospel of Benny Hinn, which made me laugh? He then did it with like Joel Osteen. I think he's done it a lot of the time, but this is his serious question.
Oh, Ash, do you have a Strymel? I have not owned a Strymel. I borrowed a Strymel from somebody once as a joke, but I've never owned my own Strymel. Chabad doesn't really wear Strymels. Like, you're not going to see that. Not anymore, anyway.
Wait, are you saying there's actually something called the Gospel of Benny Hinn?
No,
Oh, I looked it up. I was
he
like,
was
did
going
he
through.
actually?
He was going through. No.
It's
He was doing
yes,
the same thing with all
Andrew.
the other prosperity.
It's
all
called the
other
prosperity
prosperity
gospel.
Well, I mean,
Um,
okay, yeah, I know
we-
that. I thought he might like actually have
None of us
Pastor
subscribe to
John
the prosperity
Hagee.
gospel.
Yeah, dude.
with the blood moons.
Yes.
Who is
The
John Hagee?
He's
I saw a video of what's his name? Kenneth Copeland, like pretending to cut himself and mix his blood.
Yes.
ooh, that's a good
that
one.
happens.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Mhm.
Nah,
I've
Andrew.
met him.
Uh,
Now
I've
my
shaken his hand
blood
before.
Is
pros.
in his body and
He's
his
a-
blood is
even
in my
so-
body.
You
I grew
forget.
up in a prosperity gospel church.
Does,
was a mega church,
does Kenneth
and
Copeland
I've
believe in
actually-
transubstantiation?
That's a good question.
Seems like it.
He transubstantiated millions of dollars into his bank account. That's for sure.
Billions actually. He's a
I will
billionaire.
take all your
Um,
hopes and turn it into a plane for myself.
Dude, Chris, go ahead.
Sorry.
I've met him a number of times because I grew up in a mega church that was prosperity gospel. So I knew a lot of I've met a lot of the guys and girls,
Including
who
Copeland?
are deeply involved in that, including Copeland. I have hugged Copeland once as a kid and shook his hand twice as a upper teenager.
Dude, so you'll never get
So
sick,
I have-
right?
Apparently not. No.
Yeah, bro.
But
Awesome.
He
Good for
he
you.
always made me feel like not like I'm like you shouldn't be here or doing what you're doing, but just like you're a weird person type experience in person. So what you
Yeah.
see online, you feel it in person too.
Somebody said
Like,
snakes
hey,
on a
bro.
plane. I think the only
That's
snake on Kenneth Copeland's plane is Kenneth Copeland.
No, it's not snakes on a plane anymore. The snakes actually own the plane now.
Yeah.
But,
Didn't he say he can't fly on a regular plane because
Yes.
of the demons?
Well, that's what he said. Don't you ever say that I did. No, he definitely said that, and then he was confronted about it, and he was like, "I never said that. And don't you ever say that I did say that."
Yeah, then he gets like
Yes.
he gets he's like almost like demonized, and he goes,
He does.
"We do not fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers that be." Like, oh, okay.
Andrew, you forget.
Ironically, I was an atheist whenever I met him. So he actually like kind of shook my atheism of experiencing him. He's like, "You're such a weird like."
You are
I had, like,
proof
a
that the
spiritual
demonic
reaction
exists.
to it. Yeah, it's pretty much that was my experience. A little bit.
Nah, Andrew, you got to
So-
remember the gospel. In the gospel of prosperity, chapter 1 and verse 1, it says, planes, got to 'em."
Got to.
I don't know if she meant to write it like this. Steph. Him horns was peaking.
That's great. Well,
You are
guys,
officially an American now. Ash. That's-
I couldn't
that's
believe it.
quality accent.
I did not know there were actually people that were rallying against Mike Winger and what he's been doing, exposing these the like charismatic leaders. And I was scrolling Facebook and came across a Facebook group with a public post condemning Mike Winger for calling out the cover up culture that's been happening in the charismatic churches. And I looked at it, I was like trying to figure out if this was a fake picture, but it was not. It was not fake. It was a whole community rallying to try and like shut down Mike Winger's channel.
His name is David Wood, trying to shut him down.
By the way, you said that was a good accent. Have you never seen my video that's very old from before I was talking about Christianity, where I did an impression of a guy who's like, there's a video pretending to be a guy who like moved into a new house that's haunted and there's a ghost?
I have not.
I don't think I've seen a lot of
I
your
talk
old
about how I
sketch
smacked the
comedy,
ghost with a King
which is
James
how I
Bible.
found- The first thing I saw of you, other than some of your like really like after like right before you became a Christian,
We
you were
should
still
watch
going
that
through it.
video on the stream.
We
Yeah,
can.
go ahead.
I watched the song you did of you pooping your pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was my first interaction with you.
So
other
I should say,
than,
by the way,
like,
I used
one
to
or two
write and record a lot of
Judaism
music,
videos.
and only a little bit of it got uploaded. But this mic, I've had this for 15 years, and it's been a very trusty mic. There's some issues with it now that I'm working through. I have to EQ it on everything just because there's some issues with the high end. I am trying to get back into writing and recording some more music. I just ordered myself a sick mic,
Mm.
and it's on
Nice.
48-month financing.
Oh, that's wild.
Oh,
But
Wait, did you get one of those?
I just had to have that mic. Wait, that's the
that's
plan.
like a
My
car.
Wait, this mic was like $700. How much was your mic?
No, that's the SM7B.
Yeah,
Those are like
it's
450.
SM
Oh, the SM7DB. That's like 500.
It's the DB. The DB.
No, the
yeah.
mic I got was like
Oh,
just over, I think just under 700.
oh man.
I have the
Did
one that's
you-
a step down from the Shure SM7B, and I got it on a deal because I traded in a bass guitar, and so they gave this to me for like half price. It was like 2 something, maybe.
I ordered
No, I got
a Loudon
$40
audio.
Amazon mic, bro.
40.
Yeah, for streaming, like any of these will do for streaming. Like I have a $30
Right.
mic that'll work for streaming, right?
No,
But
Chase,
for
that's why you
recording
clip 'em.
music, is a different story.
Yeah, because don't you? So there's like 3 different. From my understanding, there's I took a digital media class a while back, but there's the kind of microphone that has the really thin strip in it that actually does the. Is that the kind that you got, Ash?
Which one?
There's different names.
Ribbon. It's a ribbon. mic.
Ribbon. Is it a ribbon mic?
No, I got a tube condenser.
Okay, it's
Loudon audio.
condenser. All right. Because ribbon mics.
Somebody said the
are
414. The 414 is nice,
wildly
but
expensive.
414 is like $1,300. And I
Yeah.
also actually like, from what I've heard from it, I like the one that I ordered from Loudon Audio on my voice better than the 414. But we're getting into mics, which is a whole rabbit hole and not particularly interesting for the stream.
Yeah, I used to use a Yeti mic. I will
Yetis are
just
cool.
I would just say the only issue I had with the Yetis was, I'm not actually sure if it was the Yeti's fault, like something internal in the mic, or if it was because it was picking up all the surrounding audio, and it was really sensitive, and so it was getting either the ringing of one of my USB lights, or it was
That's
something from
bizarre.
the USB connection in the mic itself. But in our old videos, there's like a distinctive ringing you can hear.
Oh, I have a friend who has a Yeti mic that was having the same issue. It's the USB cable or the port
Okay,
is
yeah.
damaged.
It was awful. I immediately, that's why I went and got this one, because I was like, I can't keep doing this because I don't want to subject anybody to having to listen to us with that audio.
Yeah,
Where'd Chris go?
He just disappears sometimes.
I've spent my money in my audiophile life on playing music and not recording it. So I have about $2,000 in my car sound system at the moment.
Yeah, that would be fun. I've done like a range of music. Like I've recorded stoner rock and like blues and country-esque stuff. Should we who in the chat, let's see, before we just play one of my other videos, which is not very long, but who's down to see a really funny video where I put on an accent that doesn't suit me?
Oh, 100%.
Anyone
I do
down?
have that pulled up already. So Ash, this is my friend Steven. He's on my channel. We were on the channel last week with him. He was a professional musician for a long time, and he can play like I think like 6, 7, 8 instruments, including like Middle Eastern instruments, which was pretty based. So if you do want to do any of the music stuff,
Yeah,
I'm sure
that
he
would
would
be cool.
be down for it as well.
Somebody did super chat opinions of Ethan Muse to Ash. Do miracles like Fatima help with your conversion? Or with your convert? Did they say conversion or conversation? I think they
Conversation.
meant conversion though.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, miracles like that had nothing to do with my conversion. I do see how they can be a powerful witness, and from what I've seen of Ethan Muse, he's a pretty cool dude. And people are I like the rage that ensues around him. So there's that.
Can you drop the comment real quick? Because I'm blocked. I really enjoyed that debate. I thought it was very interesting. I just like that he gets like this.
Yeah, it was epic.
I like that he gets really like intense, and you know that like when he gets like really into it, he would like look over his glasses, and he's just like staring into the camera like this.
I've started calling him Ethan Nettles Muse.
Yeah, Nettles. What an interesting debate.
I was gonna buy a snowball, but I was warded away from it, which I'm happy about.
Oh yeah, while you were gone, I was talking about the
anyway.
woes I had using a Blue Yeti. It wasn't worth it.
No. Yeah. Definitely not. Which video is
The
it?
Ghost Killer.
I sorted by oldest.
The Ghost Killer.
Running down, I pumped it with one round.
You hear that?
Yeah, turn off you guys and mute your mics.
Yep.
And then as it was running down, I pumped it with one round of that 30-06 with the cross etched into the bullet.
I never really believed in ghost stories, and I'm still not sure that I do, despite everything that happened.
We had moved in the spring, and the first thing I noticed that was off to me was that all the plants and flowers and everything was dead, and it should have been in bloom, but I didn't think much of it. I just thought it had been severely neglected. And as time went on, we began to notice things were a little bit off. There was other things. We heard all kinds of creaking and scraping and knocking in the floorboards in the house and in the attic, and I couldn't find anything particularly wrong. But again, I just assumed that it was just an old house, and those kinds of things happen.
You literally got popcorn.
But then I started to notice in the nighttime there was kind of a muttering and a mumbling, and it seemed that every time I woke up I could just hear it fading off, and I could never quite hear it clearly what it was, but there was definitely some kind of mumbling and muttering sound coming
this isn't
from
the
somewhere
accent
in
that
the
I'm
house.
talking about. You'll see it.
Now, one evening, I was discussing it with my wife, and we decided to set up a recording device and to see if we could record the sound of the muttering that was happening at night. And I want to just play that for you because we managed to capture something quite disturbing.
I heard the government's been using UFOs to fly over and put space lasers and all kinds of microwave rays inside of your brain.
As you can hear,
Wait, was that Christian Gadfly?
No, that's me.
Oh, really?
we had something odd going on in the house. There was obviously somebody there muttering and talking to themselves, but we couldn't find any trace of them. and we couldn't quite figure out what was going on. But there was definitely somebody there. So as time went on and things were getting weirder, things getting moved around, my wife would make biscuits, and then before we get to them, somebody had taken bites out of them, and nobody had come in the house. There wasn't any trace of anyone come in the house. So we started to think that maybe it was a ghost or a poltergeist or something of that nature.
Somebody in chat said that I think that Southerners are dumb. It's called funny stereotypes. Like, chill out.
Also, as a dude that grew up in the South, depends where you go, but there's a lot of them that are good old country boys. Most of my friends were good old country boys. We did a lot of really stupid things. But I was raised in Tennessee, so, you know, this is not that.
And so we did what's called a seance, and we decided that we would try in the evening time to summon the ghost that had been tormenting us in the new house. And we managed to summon at least the voice of this ghost. And we recorded that as well. And I want to play that for you, because I'm just going to play you a short clip, but it obviously did not end well.
Well, you can just get off my property then if you don't like it.
The whole incident was quite disturbing. We had asked him to leave, and he got very angry, and he decided to tell us that we should get out of his house. And we did a little bit of research, and it seems to be that it was a resident of the house, you know, something like 50 years ago, who had died and hasn't realized it. Now, I've never been one to believe in ghosts before, but I can't seem to find any other explanation. And then we decided to take matters into our own hands and get rid of this poltergeist ghost. And so what we had done is my wife prepared a plate of biscuits and gravy, and around 9 o'clock in the evening, we set it outside. We set it outside on the back porch, and we waited. Come 1 o'clock in the morning, we didn't see anybody. Well, we started to see bites being taken out of those biscuits. And so I took my 30-06, and inside was a bullet with a cross etched into it. And I took some holy water that I had acquired, and I threw it on the area where the biscuits were, and I started to see a shimmering of a shape. And then I smacked it with my King James Bible. And then as it was running down out away, it was afraid. I pumped it with one round of that 30-06 with the cross etched into the bullet, and I heard a scream and a sound of a thud, and then the shimmering disappeared. Now, I'm not sure if that was the best way to handle it, and now, you know, till this day, I'm not sure that I know quite what to make of it, and I can't seem to decide for myself if I hadn't just imagined the whole thing. I'm starting to doubt if what I think happened really happened. But definitely made me think maybe everything I think I know about the world is, maybe I haven't even scratched the surface.
I like how you almost cracked at the end there. You almost smiled.
Yeah, that's what I used to do with YouTube.
We got ourselves a regular Sylvia Brown here.
Dude, a lot of really, really old shorts are just that too. What's the one with the soccer ball? Let me see if I can find that real quick. Oh, this is newer. YouTube.
Hey, Gary?
Why are you doing this?
Sorry,
Ash, I want
If
to
you take a soccer ball and you start dribbling it on the concrete and shooting it into a basketball net, that's your prerogative. But that don't make it a basketball. Now, what would be wrong is if you go to your local tournament and you insist at that basketball game that they play with a soccer ball instead of a basketball. If you, yeah, I'm sure we all get what that's about.
It's pretty based. I just was gonna say, I really love your testimony of how you came to Christianity. You know, that ghost story was incredible.
Kill the ghost with a King James Bible.
It's an incredible testimony of what brought you to faith.
Yeah, dude. Notice there wasn't a Star of David on that bullet, was there? No.
True. Yeah, that's the proof. I put right there.
There wasn't
one
a
of the best
crescent and
arguments
star
is-
either.
What are the
Did
best
someone say
arguments
that?
against Orthodox Judaism? How can I be sure that Jesus is the promised Messiah and that the Messiah is not yet coming? How do I know that Christianity is the truth and not Judaism? So, if you're going with what we mostly talk about when we say Orthodox Judaism would be Rabbinic Judaism, there are several fundamental flaws. Number one, the claim to the authority that dictates what that is an anachronistic claim. The authority that they claim does not exist when they claim it happens. It's self-refuting in many capacities. They also make like self-incriminating claims as to why they wrote these things down and why they came up with these things throughout the years that it starts to get compiled. Again, they say that they're keeping the Torah, but there's a huge section of the Torah that pertains to the temple, which has not existed for the last 2,000 years. So not exactly keeping the Torah, not at all, really, if you think about it, because everyone would be condemned under the law with no way to redeem themselves. As far as the promised Messiah, if Jesus isn't the Messiah, nobody could be. It just can't happen in any other way. Timeline, when he came, the things he did, and the way that Judaism itself sees the Messiah, even throughout rabbinic literature, are all more consistent with Christianity than with anything Jewish today. So Christianity, even by that standard, would be the fulfillment of even the Jewish ideas about the Messiah that exist before modern Judaism. So, yeah, and if you're talking about Torah-only Judaism, like Karaites, suffers from the same problem as Rabbinic Judaism in that there's no temple, there's no way to fulfill the obligations of the Torah. Hasn't been for 2,000 years, there never will be again. Even if you built the temple, it wouldn't function properly. Even the Talmud tells us the temple wasn't functioning properly in the last 40 years before it was destroyed. Before that, also for a period of time, just in general, God was not accepting sacrifices from the second temple. Very clearly and definitively showing that what we knew as Judaism from that time till now is a failure. You're muted.
Which you also get in Josephus, which even like, oh, the Talmud, you can go to your historians, and the historians also say that there was funny stuff happening from 30 AD to 70 AD. So it appears like God rejected the people in the temple for sacrifice, for sanctification, because the crosses happened already. And there's so many fulfilled prophecies for Christ, and there's so much typology. Like, if you want to go through you can debunk a lot of the claims that rabbinic Jews make, but you can also just show the overwhelming weight of Christ in the Tanakh. Like, you have not only fulfilled prophecy, you also have so much typology. There's like 82 types that I've counted of Christ in the Old Testament, and almost every chapter of Jesus has a type in it. And you have allusions to, you have descriptions of, you have prophecy of not just Jesus, but also like the church and the cross and the theology of the new covenant. You have so many things that lead you to Christianity if you just take a step back from your rabbinic lens and actually try to reason through the text as Christians do.
Speaking of
look at it from both
typology on that,
perspectives.
the video that I posted in the chat earlier on the book of Ezekiel, the video that I did, there's literally the cross as a symbol of salvation in the Old Testament, not in Midrash. Go watch the video.
Yeah. And even the rabbinic, so what we talked about with Isaac carrying, did you just say that? The Isaac carrying his own cross?
No, not that. It's in the book of Ezekiel.
Oh yeah.
There's also that,
Yeah.
right? That's in
So
Midrash.
in Bereshit Rabbah, it talks about how Isaac carried his cross specifically. So in the Binding of Isaac episode, it talks about how he carried the wood up the mountain, and Christians throughout time have pointed to that being Christ. Like the whole every single detail of Isaac, including the ram caught by his horns in a thorn bush. Like he has a crown. You literally have a ram that has a crown of thorns being sacrificed in place of the sun on the wood. Anyway, so you have
You
so
see,
much
that's
typology
proof.
with Isaac
Thomas
there.
Christ was sacrificed instead of Jesus.
You have so much typology there. Then even the rabbinics in the Midrash says that Isaac carried his cross and has the vicarious atonement language. So you have rabbinic statements that coincide with Christianity pretty heavily. So if you actually accept the rabbis, then there's a lot of Christological stuff that in their texts, like the light of the Messiah is from before the world. The name of the Messiah is before the world. That's in the Talmud. And Rosh Hashanah 15b or 16a.
Well, even more extreme, you have the light of the Messiah existing under God's throne to become incarnate at some point in history, with Satan seeing the light and falling down before it in fear.
And yep. So you have an eternal name, you have an eternal light, you have divine agency within the Memra and the Logos language. You have a lot of stuff that would lead you to Christianity if you just have an open heart and open mind and examine it for yourself.
So, was there, Ash, an understanding in Judaism about like when Messiah will come, if he's rejected, he will take on like Messiah ben Joseph, and if he is accepted, it will be Messiah ben David?
Yeah, what's really interesting, so a lot of the messianic prophecies that we would talk about as first coming of the Messiah, and then the second coming of the Messiah, they divide into Joseph and Ben Joseph and David.
Right.
What's really interesting, though, is this doesn't work with every example. So with riding the donkey into Jerusalem as the lowly king versus coming on the clouds of heaven, suddenly the two Messiahs framework goes out the window because you'd have a severe issue. Yeah. Either Messiah ben Joseph comes riding on the clouds of glory, which makes no sense, or Messiah ben David, or Messiah ben Joseph is the king that rides into Jerusalem as the lowly suffering one, which creates a big problem because he can't fit that role. Only the Davidic king can do that because it's speaking of the Davidic king.
Right.
So rather than have it now split into two Messiahs, those two become conditional. If we merited the Messiah, he'll come on the clouds of heaven. If we don't merit the Messiah, he'll come riding lowly on the donkey. So it's just a further proof that they didn't think through all the way, or didn't want to admit that this division of Ben Joseph, Ben David doesn't work.
Right.
Because you eventually hit a wall where it's like, well, what do we do with the ones where Ben Joseph can't be either of them? Right. Which ironically, by the way, Messiah, son of Joseph is an interesting way to put it.
Messiah, son of Joseph did actually come, and he did,
and he's also Messiah, son of David,
the suffering servant. Yeah. So the suffering servant came, who is the son of Joseph, who then will come later, riding the clouds as David, as the eternal king.
So for you, Ash, I know how there's a lot of, especially Jewish debate about the translation. I forget which psalm it is, but it says "kiss the Son." Is that Psalm 2? That's right.
Psalm 2.
Would you say the Son is legitimate translation?
So what's really interesting, the Tuvia Singer claimed that Christians distorted that verse to make it say "kiss the Son." The Septuagint doesn't translate it as "kiss the Son." It says it as "embrace discipline," much like "embrace purity," as Jewish translations today will have it. The earliest translations that have it as "kiss the Son" are Jewish commentaries. Ibn Ezra, Midrash Tehillim, and it literally juxtaposes the Messiah as the son of the Torah, who will invite you to take of the wisdom of his bread and wine, quoting Proverbs in Midrash Tehillim. So yeah, the early sources that have it as the son is Jewish sources. It's later Christian translations that adopt that
880, 980.
Yeah, I think there might be a church father who mentions it as "kiss the Son," but I doubt it because the Septuagint doesn't have it listed that way.
So, but would you say it's a legitimate translation?
It's absolutely a legitimate translation. They're all legitimate translations, the Septuagint and that one. Embrace purity, theoretically, could be, but it's the least strong of the translations.
So, of the translations,
and
you'd
is
say
translated as son in Proverbs.
Right. In Proverbs as well.
That one's not disputed.
Right. And we know who wrote Proverbs, so it would make sense that that word was being used that way.
Right. He makes the claim to Visinger that it's only an Aramaic word meaning sun, but it's also in Proverbs, and he'd have to say that Proverbs was written by some later author in Aramaic,
right,
which it's only one word.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Which Aram like already existed at that time. So you're like, oh well, but Solomon interacted with all the peoples from the nations around him. He could have interacted with people speaking Aramaic and gotten that. Like there's ways for it to be sun linguistically, historically.
Right.
It's not a crazy out there thing.
But what I'm saying is, like, so you would say kiss the sun or embrace discipline would be two valid translations of that verse. You'd say like kiss purity would not be as strong the case.
It can work less strong.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is just because the Septuagint is citing what like, I'm not saying that if you take the Hebrew, embrace discipline works. I'm saying specifically because the Septuagint is a legitimate translation in and of itself, right? But for the Hebrew, kiss the sun makes the most sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there any Targum that interprets it as I guess it would still be bar in Aramaic for the Targums?
Right.
Yeah. That doesn't actually help with the...
Well, the context could, but I don't think so.
Right. Because it would be more or less similar. Like you'd have to add more to it to add context to make it specifically into sun, which they don't usually do. I mean, there's some Targum passages where it's like, how in the world did you get to that? Where they just add like entire sentences.
Especially Onkelos.
But yeah, it's
Onkelos, the great translator
like
who differs from the earlier Aramaic Targumim. Onkelos, the Gentile who was likely a student of Rabbi Akiva or affiliated with Rabbi Akiva, who's also a Gentile.
Right. Yeah, no, his translation's kind of like midrashic, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's much more interpretive.
Right. I'm not reading. I mean, I've read a number of the Targums. I've read a lot of the passage. I haven't read all of the Targums for all of the Bible. But I've read a good bit of the prophets and the Torah in the different Targums. And Onkelos feels different. Now you can get to like Pseudo Jonathan, which is way later in history and is very midrashic, and it adds a ton of stuff to it. Some of it is Islamic, which is very funny.
So somebody in the comments said, I always wondered, suppose the Israelis actually build the temple and then no Messiah showed. Wouldn't that be pretty theologically confusing? No, because it would just be a building. It would just be a building and it wouldn't matter. Now, if the Messiah did show up when they built the temple, a different person claiming to be the Messiah, saying different things, that would be somewhat theologically confusing, but it'd actually be very problematic because who would the high priest be? How would you know who the priests are? How would you trace their genealogy accurately? How would you know who how do you know how to do these things properly? Because we only have opinions of Maimonides and some other people. You don't actually know how to do any of these things. In terms of purifying a new temple while everyone's impure and there's no way to purify anything. You'd have all kinds of other issues that come up then. A lot would have to happen for anyone to be convinced that it's a legitimate Messiah. If we're not looking at Jesus and we're looking at a new figure that shows up building the temple in Jerusalem.
Right. Will the Antichrist be Jewish? We have no reason to think that the Antichrist is going to be any specific ethnicity or religion. If anything, he might be a caliph, but I don't think he's going to be a Jew. Judaism's too small of a religion to be the world religion that's going to confuse the masses and go against Christ when we already have prophecy.
You changed your name to Joseph Smith, fake banker.
Do you know why? Are you familiar with Joseph Smith?
Prophecy of that already.
No, I don't know anything about LDS or like Mormons.
Okay, so just real quick,
printed
Joseph Smith, two counts of fake bankery. Joseph Smith in Ohio, in Kirtland, Ohio, was like, all right, well, I have this growing Mormon community, man. I'm extorting them for all of their money. I'm making them buy land from me because I'm a prophet, which is actually true. He actually did that. He's like, man, I need something to really help the economy keep going. I'm in a lot of debt right now. The church's in a lot of debt. We just built a new temple. And so he's like, man, let's get a bank charter from the state of Ohio. So they go to the state of Ohio and they petition the state for a bank charter. The bank says no. Hopefully for religious reasons. I really hope that they were like, no, you guys are a cult. I don't know that for a fact though. But they said no. And Joseph was like, what are we supposed to do now? Well, there was a thing that was very popular back then. It was called a quasi bank. Essentially what it was is it was a publicly traded company that people would just buy stocks in, but like leave their stocks in there as if they were like investing and putting deposits in a bank. And then whenever they wanted their money, they would just kind of sell it as like a withdrawal from the bank, essentially. And so they did that, but they were operating like a bank. And then they got their own fake note plates and started printing their own fake money. And the US government at that point had to step in. And Ohio was like, yeah, we can't really be having y'all do this. Oddly enough, Joseph Smith distanced himself from the operation a couple of months before the whole thing just, went right down. He had 2 fall guys that he appointed to deal with all that.
Sounds like a stand-up guy.
Very stand-up guy. It gets
They went
worse.
to war. They went to war before his death, and he was killed by an angry mob.
Yes.
He's LDS history is wild, dude.
He was a
What
bad
was the Bible
person.
translation I recommended? The Legacy Standard Bible. Was
Legacy Standard.
The Bible I recommend.
Here, actually, I'll
Can
show
you pull
you.
up,
Literal,
while he's
and
getting
it's
that,
quite
can you
good.
pull up the Steph comment, no Jew will fall in love with a Muslim Antichrist?
Oh,
Now, you say this,
I mean,
but
There
a lot
is a
of the people that
prominent
are
Jew right now.
specifically attacking Christianity on the rabbinic side are shockingly friendly, not with Muslims, but with literal Jew and Israel hating Muslims who have expressed that they would wish all the Jews in Israel were wiped out and all kinds of stuff like that. Specifically very friendly with them. Not only that, there actually was an event in history where they built a giant gold dome and the Jews were told and believed that this would be the new temple for them at some point.
Yes.
So
Yes, there was.
So yes, they absolutely would fall in love and have fallen in love with potential Muslim antichrists.
That's one of my favorite
and
stories.
there was a golden age of Islam while that golden building was being built, where for like 200 years they were very, 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 very friendly with Muslims, and so much so that you see a lot of the midrash, like Perk's Rabbi Eliezer, coming out of that time period. That's a Muslim text. Now it's a Jewish and Muslim text, but there's a lot of syncretism.
Oh,
Like
she said she
even
was
like
being
their idea
sarcastic.
of the Antichrist is very much the same. Like there's a lot of syncretism happening to where Judaism becomes more Islamic with Maimonides and other midrashim of the time, and then Islam becomes more Jewish. It was already only Jewish, but then it like doubles down, and like even the later commentators are extremely Jewish too, even quoting from the Talmud to explain the Quran.
Yeah, pull
So-
up an illustration of Maimonides when you get the chance, and then pull up an illustration of Al-Ghazali, a Muslim philosopher from the time. See if you can tell the difference. No, exactly. It's not. I'm not talking about Al-Aqsa. I'm talking about the Dome of the Rock. That was what they were told, because that's on the site of the Holy of Holies, I believe. Somebody says, "Will Ash
alright.
debate Shabbos?" I
think I
assume they
can-
mean Shabbos Kestenbaum. I would love nothing more than to get my hands on that situation and debate that individual for not only having the most ridiculous takes on Christianity while pretending to be a friend of Christians, but also lying through his teeth about Jewish beliefs and Jewish tradition while doing so.
Chris, your
I don't know
camera
which one
is
of these I want to use.
frozen. Oh, there. Oh, never
Yeah, it's
mind.
because
It
I
just
went
fixed.
off.
Oh,
I went off StreamYard. So whenever it does that, you slow your bit rate just horribly.
Yeah, somebody said he's the
So
least
I got a
convincing speaker
couple-
ever. I'd say that Shabbos Kestenbaum could fit into like some Taoist proverb about reeds and like blowing in the wind.
Yeah. We had a guy on one of our Mormonism streams try and tell me that Joseph Smith wasn't racist. Would you guys like to listen to the Book of Mormon on
No,
Joseph
because we want the
Oh,
stream
man,
to
it's
stay up.
Wild.
This- I don't think I don't think it would get the stream taken down.
Yeah, let's not try it.
But
Chris is
You
frozen. It's very unnerving that he's laughing like that.
I
but
know,
that's the
yeah.
look on his face.
okay, there we go. Yeah, that's even worse. They would reject being polytheists though, even though I would say that they are.
Okay, let me ask you if
We're
it's
gonna do the
more
eye
racist
test.
or less racist than this. Okay.
Okay.
In the opening chapter of the Kuzari, which Jews love to point to when they're talking about the philosophical proofs for God and like Unitarianism, in the beginning of the Kuzari, he's trying to make an argument for the value of a philosopher versus other people, but then he makes like a bigger distinction, like how black people are similar to other people in shape and ability to speak, but not in meaning or purpose. That's his like example. Is it more or less racist than that?
I would say that it's Joseph. The part that I'm talking about in 2 Nephi 5.
It's kind of the same.
I would say
it's
that
kind of
it's
the same.
very, very similar, but I think he continues to maintain black people's humanity.
Yeah, okay, we can hear it if it's less than that.
Okay, yeah, I would say that it's kind of it's a little bit less than that. So I would just say that it's funnier. Like I don't. Dispensationalists are not racist.
Whoa!
How am I
What?
racist?
That's crazy.
Dude,
That's
I'm not
crazy.
racist by
I have
definition.
never heard somebody say that.
Jack Ray, I zoned out looking at logos and now I zoned back in at the wrong thing.
I would,
Alright, so
I would very much
we're gonna
love
do
for
an
you
eye
to
test.
to prove that I am racist because I'm a dispensationalist. Continue, Chris. Ash, you're muted.
Which of these two?
You got the worst Maimonides
Is the
Al-Ghazali
Jew.
comparison there. Just look at the black and white, the old rendering of them.
I mean, I was looking at that, but it was just such a.
They're literally the same. They're
Scuffed image.
identical in like the older renderings. Like
It was such a scuffed image. Hold on. Actually, it's saving it as a GIF. I don't know if I can open that. All right, hold on. I'll just do it the
No.
old-fashioned way.
How am I racist? I would very much like to know how I'm racist.
All right. Remove.
somebody commented, Ash, let's not take the stream down, guys. Also, Ash, let me tell you a crazy racist belief I read about.
No, okay. Do I even want to engage with what this guy's saying?
That's Maimonides. That's the very famous picture of Maimonides. Not that one.
probably
This
not.
one.
Yeah, this is the
That's the
this
very
one, this
famous
one is
picture of
Maimonides.
Maimonides. Yeah.
yes, and then this one is Al-Ghazali.
No, but look at the other. No, the one of Al-Ghazali. That one here.
The
The second row on the
Staircase
left.
one?
No,
you almost had
How do- there
now
you
it's
go.
far on the right.
far
No.
right, third
Yeah.
row. Second row, third. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Okay.
Maimonides Al-Ghazali. Maimonides Al-Ghazali. Maimonides Al-Ghazali.
Okay. Also, Ash, I don't know if you saw this video, but I want to get your take on my skit.
Now this could-
Shabbat Shalom! Yeah. Nice to see you today. What the machine? What's this? What's this doodad? Oh. Oy vey.
The hell is going on? Oh my.
update. We did not have to be worried about Chase getting the stream taken down. It was crazy.
What on earth? All right.
Well, let's talk about this, okay? So when electricity was discovered, of course, the rabbis had to ban its use on the Sabbath, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Right.
Now, the original reasoning was that there's fire in the wires. So you'd
Right.
be kindling a fire on the Sabbath.
Ah,
Now, once it became a rule, they have to maintain why they have it in a rule and keep it as a rule. But the reasoning changed. It became building because you're not allowed to complete vessels on the Sabbath. And so when you complete the circuit, you're turning it from something unusable to a completed vessel. So it's building on the Sabbath. But it
Dude,
was first fire in the wires.
first of all,
But
fire in the
for those who are not
wires
aware of the
sounds like-
context of that video, the
cool.
Islam believes
Yes,
that
bro.
those people broke the Sabbath and then God turned them into that animal. So I'm not being racist. That's literally a belief of Islam.
Okay.
So
All right, Senator Slayer. I do not affirm that anyone who does not have faith in Jesus is saved. Let's just get that out of the
turn on
way.
an LED light.
I don't think that just because a certain person has a specific set of genetic code that makes them saved. Never believed that. No dispensationalist has ever said that. Well, okay, maybe I'm being a little too harsh on that. Maybe there was maybe somebody said that one time. But that's not, and also recognizing that there are different like ethnic groups of people is not racist. Like just saying that the Jewish people exist and that I believe that they are still around is not racist. Anyways,
I didn't get to I didn't get to say this earlier when we were talking about our favorite stories of the Jews loving a group that they believe is going to let them do something that they want. My favorite is the story where they opened the gates so that the Persian Empire could take out part of the Roman Empire. And then the Persians took over and they thought that the Persians would let them build the temple. And the Persians were like, no, why would we do that? they're like, you're just under new management. You're not, we're not giving you this space back.
I feel like dispensationalism is not as weird as you think.
What are
Also,
your views on injecting things for 60 million.
Shut up. No, not happening. Anyways, I would like for to read 2 Nephi chapter 5 if you will have me. Gosh. All right. 2 Nephi chapter 5. It says in verse 20. I can pull it up.
2 Nephi sounds like a fake book.
It is. It is. They also have my favorite one.
Right.
So Nephi is good, but I think my favorite one is Mosiah, or maybe, quite possibly Jerome or Jerome, but it's spelled Jarom. Anyways, but it says in 2 Nephi 5:21. And he had caused the cursing to come upon them, yea, even a sore cursing because of their iniquity. For behold, they had hardened their hearts against him, speaking of God, that they had become like unto a flint, so they were very adamant. Wherefore, as they were white and exceedingly fair and delightsome, that they might not be enticing unto my people, the Lord God did cause a skin of blackness to come upon them. Verse 22 says, and thus saith the Lord God, I will cause that they shall be loathsome unto thy people, save they shall repent of their iniquities. And cursed shall be the seed of him that mixeth with their seed, for they shall be cursed even with the same cursing. And the Lord spake it, and it was done. And because of their cursing which was upon them, they did become an idle people, full of mischief and subtlety, and did seek in the wilderness for beasts of prey. So, here we have, I'm not kidding you, Joseph Smith, saying that these people once were very, very fair. Because they sinned, God made them ugly. And how did he do that? You could fill in the blank on that one. And not only that,
it sounds like the character of somebody playing a ridiculous preacher in a movie.
Exactly. Not only that, but my favorite part comes in verse 24, where it says, they did become an idle people, full of mischief and subtlety. So Joseph Smith was calling them racist, or he was calling them lazy before, So they're lazy and ugly and mischievous. Awesome. Thank you. So yes,
Yeah, it
Joseph
literally
Smith was
sounds
in
like
fact
it sounds like
racist.
a movie trying to like discredit and disparage like Christian preachers, doing like a mockery of a Christian preacher,
Yes.
like in a movie. That's what that sounds like. And the curse that he did curse upon them and cursed again, and then it was he spake it and it was.
Legit, bro.
I
And
love
then
the
like
in first
the
Did you bring
Nephi.
up the curse at
bro.
the ending?
In
Huh?
first
Oh,
or
no.
Nephi, whatever. First Nephi. My favorite part is that he just straight up says in chapter 6 that he said, "Yeah, I'm just not going to give you my genealogy." It's like it's not important. I don't have enough room on the golden plates.
Yeah.
I'm being dead serious. That's actually what he says.
He
Hang
said,
on.
I don't
In
have enough
first-
room on the plates. Just trust we come from Joseph.
First Nephi 6. And now I, Nephi, do not give the genealogy of my fathers in this part of my record, neither at any time shall I give it after upon these plates which I am writing. For it is given in the record which has been kept by my father, wherefore I do not write it in this work. For it sufficeth me to say that we are descendants of Joseph. And it mattereth not to me that I am particular to give a full account of the things of my father, for they cannot be written upon these plates. For I desire room that I may write of the things of God.
Is he basically saying like they're asking him like, oh, hey, person who seems like they need help, where do you live so we can get you back to your family? I can't tell you because they don't tell me anything because they're afraid I'm going to tell it to strangers.
My personal thought is that Joseph Smith, because there was 8 witnesses to the golden plates, and he recited it for them each time. I just don't think he could remember the lineage.
Yeah.
So he just the way to get around it is to be like, oh, well, he couldn't give the lineage because there just wasn't enough room on the golden plates.
Right. You're muted.
You're muted, by the way.
Wasn't he like, my dad didn't tell me, so I don't know? Like my dad has
No.
the record.
No, he said I wrote it in the records of my father, so
Oh.
I'm not going to put it here.
Conveniently,
For it
you
is the
have
record, yeah.
records of the father.
Well, where's
So-
the records of your fathers? Oh,
Yeah. I don't know.
Ash, do
God,
you know how
God
old he
didn't
was?
preserve that one.
Do you know
The
how old he
Essenes
was
didn't get
whenever he
their hands
started
on
his
it.
religion?
Well, that depends.
like
If you believe him
15
or
or
not.
16, I'm guessing.
He's 14.
That depends if you believe him or not. Because he claims that he was 14 when he had the vision, but he didn't actually reveal or write anything about it until he was closer to 18 years old. So,
It was a child that made this religion, so you can see why it's
Yep.
so stupid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Would you, man, Ash? Oh
Could you-
my gosh.
The golden plates. You can click on Houston's. The golden plates have better data compression than zip files.
Real. Also, it's
I
funny.
don't know much about again like LDS, but I saw like brief bits of like the debate with Trent Horn, like back in the day, and he like brought like a stack of golden tablets. Like so, it'd be like about this big. Like, do you think you could fit that much on about that? Like that many words, or something like that?
That's so dumb, man.
I think probably the best part of Joseph Smith's life is whenever he received revelation on Doctrines and Covenants 132, in which he said, and he calls out his own wife, and he says, if any wife
Mhm.
objects to polygamy, you're going to get destroyed by God. That's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, dude, his wife got.
She
not
was the
back there,
first
dude.
victim of Mormonism.
Yeah. Yeah, Emma had a rough go of it. So did Aisha, but man, Emma's. Me and Mary Arbor are eventually going to do a debate on which wife of the prophet had it worse, Emma or Aisha. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really
I-
think there's an argument. I think Aisha probably definitely had it way worse than Emma did.
She's going to take the position of Emma, so we'll see how that goes.
You
But
got a
I
super
should-
on mine about it.
yeah.
At 6 years old.
Blood atonement in case Jesus' blood doesn't cover your sin completely. Mormons, they tried to hide it.
So, are you familiar with blood atonement, Ash? their doctrine. So
Mm.
that's
Yeah,
not
it's called blood.
accepted. It's not accepted anymore. But for a span of like 40-ish to 50 years, it was not. It was contested, but it wasn't shown like to be false by any president or prophet. They actually, it's called the first presidency, is what it's called, and they're their prophets. So it's like prophet and king. But I digress.
He was supposed to be president of the country.
Yeah, he was supposed to be
in
the
a
president of the United
prophecy.
States. Mhm.
And then he never did. And then he also said that the Congress of the United States would be destroyed for rejecting them, and they weren't either. So he has like 20, 30 failed prophecies in Doctrines and Covenants that you can go through, which is really funny.
True.
That's probably where the name comes from.
I would argue that Augustine is not greater than Calvin, but I don't want to get into that right now. So what happened was, where was I at? Oh yeah, Brigham Young. Brigham Young introduced what's known as the blood atonement doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially that states that if you commit what are known as eternal sins, you can only work toward forgiveness from that by sacrificing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally says in
Having
one
your
of
blood
my
spilt.
favorite passages to quote about this was Brigham Young in one of his sermons said, if he talks about mixed race marriages, Brigham Young was more racist than Joseph Smith. So just to put that into perspective, but terrible person. Brigham Young had about 55 wives. And one of the things that he said was, he was like, all right, if a mixed marriage were to happen and it were to be found out, that this thing had happened and that they had children and all of these things, he said it would go a long way atoning for their sins if you killed them.
Wow.
Based, yeah.
I can actually pull that up for you if you'd like. It says
it's actually so common.
Common
that
W. Brigham Young.
In Utah, it's still an official way of execution that you can choose to be killed by a firing squad so that your blood is spilled. And the last time it was done was in 2010 in Utah. So the last death by firing squad in Utah was in 2010 because of this blood atonement thing. That's not even officially part of the church anymore.
This is my favorite. Yeah. Were the children of God to mingle their seed with the seed of Cain, which is colored folk, it would not only bring the curse upon themselves, which it has written out, making themselves slaves. So apparently
it's literally like that scene from the beginning of Justified.
Yeah, the guy saying,
and you know who the mud people are, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie.
A TV show.
Or TV show.
Yeah.
But it says, but they entail it upon their children after them, and they cannot get rid of it. So this curse of Cain. If a man in an unguarded moment should commit such a transgression, if he would walk up and say, cut off my head, and kill man, woman, and child, it would do a great deal towards atoning for the sin.
They got Ash.
Yep.
Ash was they got him. But yeah, so that's that.
Yeah.
That happened. Yeah. That's a real thing that a real Mormon prophet said that real Mormons believed for a really long time.
Up until 2010, apparently.
Well, it was abrogated before that. I think it was in the 30s that the guy come on and he was like, yeah, we don't know about that. That and the Adam God doctrine.
Yeah.
I love that we have two major religions that believe in significant abrogation. And
but again, like
it's I love that they're so similar to each other in so many ways, and one of those ways is abrogation.
You know, Joseph Smith was called the American Muhammad. That was one of his nicknames.
Somebody on your channel chat said, I'm surprised they don't permit, I think they meant seppuku, but they said Sudoku.
Said it's a joke. Yeah. I hope that's a joke. It's not a D, it's a P. But
also, you're not supposed to kill yourself. in Mormonism. You're
Right.
supposed to be
Have your blood
be
spilled.
sacrificed. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And the whole Mark of Cain thing for the curse is so stupid. So if you
It's
actually
so
read
dumb.
Genesis 4 in context, the Mark of Cain is a blessing from Yahweh to Cain, so he's not killed.
Right.
It's not a curse. He's blessed. It's a protective seal on him that later rabbis said was the cross, by the way. That's a little fun thing from the Talmud. They say that it was a tau placed on him, and that was the mark that was protecting him. And that letter at the time would be a cross in the Proto-Sinaitic. And
Wait,
even in the
is the mark on Cain also a tav?
Yeah.
Are you
from,
sure?
is either the Midrash or the Talmud, but they do say that.
Because I don't think in the text it says a tav. In Ezekiel, it's a
Oh,
tav.
they say the word mark. It's using the same language as Ezekiel, because I remember that.
Interesting.
I'll pull it up real quick.
A Goyim knows the Talmud better than Ash.
What Goyim knows the Talmud better than Ash?
Let me find it. Yeah, this is part of the thing I was going through, because they also say that the mark in Ezekiel is also a tau explicitly, and that was so. That's in Rosh Hashanah. I remember that one. I just don't remember where this was.
W. Goy.
W. Goy.
Ash is using the Goy for his research, you see. Yeah, Talmud, Shabbos Goy makes sense, but Talmud Goy?
Guys, I think I'm gonna need to hop off.
Yeah, I'm also gonna need to wrap up soon.
Yeah, I
Why don't
we
we
3 hours?
Yeah. Why don't we
It's been 3 hours.
why don't we wrap it up? You guys, everyone watching, you can check out Joseph Smith and Andrew's channel, Sons of Thunder. Obviously, if you're on Defending a Lion, but if you're not, if you're on my channel, go to Defending a Lion, subscribe to all these gentlemen, and don't forget to go to the description of my video and check out the baby registry. You only have a week or 2 left.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Very.
Yes.
All right. I think we'll wrap it up and then we'll chat for a sec.
Yeah. Any last words? The Borna Jays boilers.
Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
All right. See you guys.